Hey guys, welcome to Fanfic Fanatics. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku became the Ripper and had Harem? Part 1. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Universos de olvidado by Thunder_1201. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Narrator. We can see a green-haired boy walking through the halls of the famous Uehiro school, or Ui as you want to call it. But that is not the important thing. If we get closer to see the green-haired boy, we can see him with his gaze downcast and crying. Pav. Izuku, some people might wonder why I am like this, someone who always smiles. Well. Flashback, we can see a green-haired guy walking through the 2A dorms in the girls section, and you might be wondering, what's he doing there? He was looking for his girlfriend Uraraka, since they were about to celebrate their first year together. Izuku. I hope you like these chocolate mochis, and this song I composed for them. Smiles. Narrator. Now he was heading to his girlfriend's room, but when he knocked no one answered, and when he entered, there was no one there. I fooled you XD. When he went to ask another girl, Momo, she told him that she had gone to Lita's room to study. TMR, it hurts me to put this for Uke. When he was close to the room, he heard strange sounds of applause and screams. Uke is not going to understand that they are moans. V. Thinking that his girlfriend was in danger, he would kick the door, but he would regret having done it. There his best friend and his girlfriend would see them eating like rabbits in heat. They didn't wait for the tears and ran out activating the OFA. But what he didn't expect was that when passing by the room, his supposed best friend would hear something that would end up breaking him. Bakugo. Shajai Shas, I feel sorry for the shitty nerd. He doesn't know that his girlfriend is cheating on him with everyone. Denki. You're right. The best thing of all is that he doesn't realize that we use him to gain fame and be recognized, and when he becomes useless we'll forget about him. Seto. You're right. Minor. Yes, and so you can have a mega harem. In your dreams. Filthy. V. With a lascivious face. Upon hearing all of this, Izuku would break down, run outside the UA, and start crying. Fin. Flashback. Izuku thoughts. I had to listen to them the moment my mom, my friends, my best friend Todoroki told me. I should have believed them, but in the end you can't trust anyone. Narrator. You may wonder, wasn't Todoroki talking badly about you and that's why you consider him a friend? Well, he wasn't at the meeting, just like Kirishina, who didn't approve of them saying that behind his back and doing that to Izuku. One because it went against his manly codes apart from his conscience, and the other because he helped him with his family, with traumas, with the teapots XD he had to do it. V. And being his first friend, they were the only ones who didn't betray him or forget what he's always done for them. Pav. Izuku. Now when I was leaving to go train at the beach to clean, I met Kami, who is Bokugo's girlfriend, or as it hurt her to say Kachan, but she saw me crying and approached me. She looked worried and I didn't know why. Kami. Izuku-san, are you okay? Izuku. Yes, makes a forced smile, but tears kept falling. Kami, seeing that, just hugged him and said, Kami. Calm down now, don't cry, come on, let's go get something and you tell me what happened. They went to get milkshakes in the city center, and everyone who saw it thought they were a couple, and Kami was happy because she only used Bokugo to get closer to Izuku, and they wonder why. Well. Flashback. You can see the honey-haired girl walking to a toy store, and they will say, why the hell are they going to release a new All Might figure? And P.S. she's a big fan of heroes, but I don't know how to expect a guy to approach her. Extra. What's up, cutie? Wouldn't you like to have some fun with me? I feel dirty writing this part. Kami. I'm not sorry, I'm not one of those people, and if you do me a favor, get out of my way. Extra. I think you didn't understand what I said. You're coming with me. He grabs her arm and tries to pull her, but she resists. Kami. Help screams, but there was no one. Extra. Shut up tries to hit him. Before a green ray hits him, I would kick him in the head, knocking him out. Are you okay? Huh? Kami. My name is Kami and thank you so much for saving me. Hugs him. It was nothing, that's what a hero does, right? And another question you're asking at this time of the morning on the streets? Note. At 5 in the morning, Kami. Well, I don't know, I'm joking, but I wanted to compare the new figure that's coming out from AM. She said it with embarrassment. Oh really, Kami? You are? What a coincidence, I also came here to buy the new figure. Kami. I forgot to ask you what your name is if it's not too much trouble, she said with embarrassment for forgetting to ask. Sorry for not introducing myself. My name is Izuku. Midoriya takes off his hood and shows him a smile. Imagine he is not in uniform. Kami would blush and wouldn't know why when she first met him, but something told her she should get to know him better. Kami. And if we both go together to buy the figure, it's because I'm afraid that it will come back or someone else might appear, she said it with a little fear. Izuku. Sure Pav. Change. After buying the figure we took the opportunity to get to know each other better, and what can I say? He is the best Choco I have ever met. He cares about others. He doesn't care about appearances. He is an uke. He is shy. I don't know what to say about him. There is no one like him, and that was when I fell in love with him. My Green Knight. Over time we got to know each other better and we became best friends. We talked every day and I felt happy since no one cared about me. It was just him. But I got depressed when I found out he was with Uraraka. But I didn't give up. His friend Bakugo declared his love to me. I was going to say no, but I took the opportunity to get closer to my Green Knight. Finn flashback. They walked until they sat down, and then the topic of why Izuku was like that came up. Kami. Izu. Why are you like this? Izuku. I don't want to talk about it with a sad face. Kami. Tell me, that's what friends are for, to support you with a smile. Izuku. Well, what happened? He told her about how he found his girlfriend being unfaithful to him with almost the entire course of how his friends pretended to be nice to him and when the first sign of problems would throw him out. Needless to say, Kami was angry for doing that to her. Izuku, of course she doesn't give a damn if Bakugo is unfaithful to her since she wasn't even interested. Kami. Izu, calm down, you can vent. I know it's hard, but you always overcome it. Asterisk gives him a smile. Izuku. You're right, I'm not like this just because of her, with a more determined look. So the rest of the day continued. They went to the fair, they had fun. Izuku forgot everything about Uraraka. Of course he won't forgive her and they won't even be friends. But Izuku had feelings for Kami, but he didn't say it because she's in love with other girls and still feels little for someone like her. That's what he thought. At the Ua gate, Izuku. Thanks Kami for doing this for me, I would say it with a smile between happy and sad. Kami. You're welcome, Izu. Remember, I'll always be there for you. Hugs him with a red tint on her cheeks. Kami was already full of shiketsu since there are also dormitories, but Izuku would grab her hand. Kami would turn surprised by what her crush had done. Izuku. I hope I take you. It's very dangerous to go alone at this time. Smiles at him. Kami. It's okay, a little blushing. Izuku would bend down and tell her to get on his back. Kami quickly got on with a blush. Izuku activated 15% of the OFA. Note. Izuku controls 70% and unlocked Nana's, Dagoro's and En's quirks. I think that's how it was XD. Izuku left her, said goodbye and returned to Ua. Izuku thoughts, how beautiful this day was. What a shame that he is with Bakugo. A treacherous tear would come out. Izuku would enter the dorms and everyone could be seen in the common room. Uraraka. Hello. Deku-kun jumps to hug him but he dodges it, making her fall. Izuku. No. Deku-kun with a serious and cold look. Uraraka. What's wrong? I would say it with feigned innocence. Izuku. I know, with a cold tone. Uraraka. What are you talking about? A little nervous, like almost all the men except you know who. Izuku. You're cheating on me with almost the entire classroom and my so-called friends are only using me for their own benefit. With a cold and slightly broken tone, but it wasn't noticeable. Everyone was surprised without exception, but the women, Todoroki and Kurashina. Uraraka. What are you talking about? Nervous like almost all the men. Izuku. Don't act like you're the one who saw you and my supposed friend Lita fucking like rabbits and my supposed best friend with my other supposed friends talking about how you sell yourself. With a cold tone. Suyu. That's true, with some tears coming out. Uraraka. Yes, with her gaze lowered. Suyu licks him on the cheek. Suyu. I never believed it about you. Uraraka. Don't talk to me anymore. Leaves like all the girls in the class. Uraraka would cry and Lita would get angry. Lita. Midoriya apologize now. With his typical Robotsonic acts. Izuku. I'm not going to do it. In any case, if you apologize it would be you. With a cold tone. Lita would get even more angry and prepare a recipro burst and try to kick him, but when she was about to, her quirk stopped working and some bandages caught him. That's right guys, it's the best caterpillar mom Pokemon, or better known to the paw as the drug addict. Okay, I'm not saying it's Aizawa who had heard everything and would feel disappointed in those involved. Aizawa, all of you are going to go to the office to see who is going to do your punishment, and you Uraraka, we don't allow that in this school, so you are expelled, and Midoriya go rest. You will be very stressed by everything that happened to you. Asterisk, he would say with a clear description and at the end with sadness for his best offspring XD. Uraraka would stay stiff. She couldn't find the words. She lost everything, the boy she supposedly loves and her school, but she didn't think that. She blamed Izuku for all of this. Uraraka, it's all your fault Deku-kun. If you gave me everything I deserve, this wouldn't happen. I would try to attack him, but some bandages hold her back. Aizawa, Uraraka, you have until today to take your things with her quirk activated. But suddenly everyone is destroyed. The same thing happened with other people. The Pussycats, Kota, the brothers from Nabu Island, Class B, the UA teachers, some from Shiketsu, Mei, Shindo, the League of Villains, Nagant, Muscular, AFO, Shizaki, the Big Three, Eri, etc. Minutes before, in the middle of all the universes, there was someone who was lying in his bed sleeping, but suddenly he was woken up by his two pets. Me. Let me sleep with clear sleep. Deku. Wow wow, catch. It is. Me. I know you're hungry, but you can't wait. Deku. Wow, underscore. Me. Okay, let's go. Goes to the kitchen and puts them in their cups. It's delicious XD. Me. That's it, don't bother me and let me sleep. Suddenly an alarm sounds. Dimension AL change alert. A black code was presented. Me. They don't let you sleep a single $% second. Let's see what happened. Looks at what's happening on a screen. Apparently it's Quadrant 9 Universe 1290, name of the Forgotten Universe. How strange, it says that. Seriously. Here it says May and Melissa tried to create a machine to see universes. My time to intervene has come with a little tear of happiness. Deku. Wow wow, catch. Shine. Me. It says here that Izuku has been betrayed by his girlfriend and friends from his class -2. The dog version of Bakago thought he was one of those two, and PS the dog version of Izuku was Trete. Me. It was all traumas and period hairs XD. Catch. Shine with a sad tone. Deku. Woof woof tries to make him feel better XD. Catch. Shine already a little better. Me thoughts, how lucky I was that I changed Catch's personality, otherwise he would have stopped fighting with Deku. He thought happily seeing his pets interact. Me. Well, it's time to bring them before they destroy their universe. Snapped his fingers and I see on a screen how the bnha characters turn to dust. They would all appear in a large movie theater. Some would be scared because they didn't know where they were. Izuku. Where are we? Said more. Colder than her heart. A.M. No loss. Shonen with his typical smile. AFO. Yes, where are we? A.M. We don't know. All. A.M. Son of a bitch, you're still alive. Reference XD. Take 2. A.M. Villains. Positions himself in a fighting stance like other heroes and students. AFO. Calm down my friend, why don't we go for a pineapple coke? XD. Take 2. AFO. Heroes. Just like heroes. Tamura. God. Izuku. Jotaro. AFO. A.M. Hits them. No references to the enemy. Tamura. Izuku. Yeah, but it's not so they can hit us. They look at each other and laugh. Everyone looks at them with a drop of sweat from the interaction. Suddenly something scared them because a bark and a very familiar sound were heard for almost everyone. There they saw. Some laughed, others were surprised by the resemblance to their classmates and the girls. Well. Girls. Kawaii. The two dogs, upon hearing them, ran off to get behind the leg of someone who was a black figure. Izuku. Who are you? A little curious but in battle pose. Me. Was it me who brought them here? And you might wonder why. Everyone nodded because they also said why they were here. Well, I brought them because I saw a disturbance in their world because of them too, he said, pointing to May and Melissa. May, Melissa. Why is it our fault? They said nervously. Me. They tried to create a machine to see universes without permission from their guardian and were about to destroy their universe with a serious tone. Everyone tensed up upon hearing that their universe would be destroyed, but it wasn't long before an explosive bitch spoke. Bakugo. Who do you think is extra by bringing me Amy the Great Bloody Explosive King? He said it with superiority, anger and trying to activate his quirk. Bakugo. Because my quirk doesn't work, he would say it angrily, but then his mother slaps him. Mitsuki. Shut up, abortion badly done. I knew I had to abort you, she said it with clear anger at her son's attitude. Bakugo. Shut up, damn witch, you don't tell me what to do, yelling at her with clear anger and a little sadness for what he heard, but nobody noticed. So they started to fight and everyone broke into a sweat at the two's attitude. Me. Enough, snapped his fingers and they appeared in different seats in the cinema. I took away their quirks from everyone without exception. Everyone would be shocked and I took them away so they wouldn't make a mess. V. Bakugo. I demand that you give me back my extra quirk. He launches himself to attack, but before he gets there he snaps his fingers and explodes. Me. Anyone else? Everyone was terrified by the scene. Very well, before the bitch keeps fucking me and doesn't let me finish. Snapped his fingers and revived it. I hope you don't bother me again. With a look that promised pain and suffering. Bakugo was filled with fear but reluctantly went to sit down. Me. Well, interrupts me. Izuku. One question, who is it? Me. Well, I am someone like a god, but on a smaller scale. You could call me the guardian of the multiverse. Everyone was surprised to hear that, but one nun couldn't stand it. Ibara. It seems that there is only one god. Me. You didn't hear me, I said God is a minor god, and also a lot of gods, millions. I think it's not just me. But the one you talk to in religion is the little boss, or as we call him, the boss of bosses XD. Ibara. Okay. 3. Izuku. And why did you bring us apart from May and Melissa? With a little curiosity. Me. Well, my dear Uke, I was watching what was happening to you, like those dogs and bitch pointing at you know who, how they wanted to leave you in oblivion. Everyone was surprised by that, but well, changing the subject and answering is to see universes since I am here all alone with my pets with depressing aura. Izuku. And why do you look like a shadow? Me. Everything in its time, young Padawan. Izuku. Anke. Me. Lack of culture abounds around here with a bit of disappointment. Me. Well, we'll see what would have happened if I didn't intervene in his universe and let it happen. Mind you, there was a 50-50 chance that the machine wouldn't work or his universe would explode. Everyone tensed up at the memory of that. Me. Deku. Catch forward and head on. Deku. Wow. Me. Just in case, those are my pets. Deku and Catch, you go with the children to play at that door, he said, pointing to a door. Eri. Sir, where are we going? A little scared. Me. They're going to an Izuku-themed amusement park. Saying that, all the children without exception rushed to the door. Me. Take care of them so they don't get hurt. Deku. Wow. Catch. Shine. And so they left. Izuku. Why did they leave? With doubt. Me. This future is a little sad. I don't want the kids to see this, apart from the fact that they might hate some people, said looking at you know who. Bakugo wanted to say why the shitty nerd is just an extra, but he knew what would happen if he spoke. Me. Well, it's time to start. The screen turns on. After what you already know was said in the prologue, which is a pain to rewrite, you can see Izuku in his room thinking, why? Everything bad always happened to him, but in Denki's room, there was a meeting about how they would get rid of the useless guy, as they call him. Bakugo. I have a plan, with a grim smile. Denki. What would that be? Bakugo. We can easily frame him for alleged rape, with a grim smile. Mineta. How would we do that? Bakugo. Easy, we pay any bitch we find to pretend to have been raped by the nerd, you plant fake evidence in her room and that's it, easy as that. Seto. Ha 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 ha, I don't know why you're like this. Bakugo with his flat smile.
Bakugo. Easy a damn, Deku can't be better than me with a superior smile. Everyone kept talking about how to do it. Time skip 2 weeks. Nezu over the PA. Young Midoriya, please report to the principal's office. Midoriya was worried because he didn't know what was happening, but he was thinking about something else since his best friend Kami told him that she broke up with Bakugo, and of course he got angry and was complaining to her,
but she didn't give a damn. Already in the director's room, knock knock, really cool effects, okay sign. Nezu. Can pass the door would open and none other than Izuku could be seen, and he would be surprised to see his idol with a disappointed face and other heroes and teachers. A sad mother caterpillar, although it would not be visible because of the bandages, and his companions, who I think you already know who they are, with a girl who was kneeling with tears in her eyes. Izuku. What happened, director, and why are we here together, and who is that girl, pointing at the girl? Nezu. P.S. You see, young Midoriya, this girl accuses you of raping her when saying that the girl would cry even more clearly it was fake, but nobody noticed. Izuku was shocked, not believing that since he was incapable of doing that. Izuku. That's a lie, it's not possible, I never would be interrupted by his idol. Stop lying. Here are your classmates who say they heard a girl screaming at night coming from her room with clear anger and disappointment. Izuku. That's not true, you have to believe me, with tears threatening to come out. I'm sorry, but there are witnesses and I believe them more. That would break his heart. His idol, a teacher, someone he considered like a father, didn't believe him. For that reason he takes a hair and eats it and feels himself getting stronger. Nezu. Young Midoriya is expelled from school from today, he has until today to take his things. Izuku with a downcast look went to the dorms. His other classmates didn't know anything since they weren't there. Izuku would only grab the most important things he had. His notebooks, his saved money, and his laptop. Then he jumped out the window and left. After what happened, Bakugo went with the girl who acted, I'm going to call her girl circa I mean any girl. They were behind the school in an area where nobody went. Girl C. It's time I fulfilled the deal, now give me my money. Bakugo. Here's your extra money, gives him a wad of money. He likes to make deals with a superior smile. Girl circa. Yes, whatever, I'm leaving. Bakugo would get angry, but he wouldn't give it any importance since now he has decided on the Deku, as he calls him. Now we go to Shiketsu, where a green lightning bolt was seen on the door of the same, and you will wonder what he is doing there. Well, he had the director's number since the director had talked to his mother before he entered UA as a second option. He called his mother and told her everything that happened. Of course his mother believed him because she was the one who raised him and knew his ideals. They talked. Then his mother told him about the number. They contacted the director and he told them everything that happened, which was surprised and without complaint accepted him in his school since there was a vacancy in room 2A. Now he was walking in to talk to the director to see when it started. In the Shiketsu director's room, talk. I'm going to name the director Zuno. Zuno. Past the one who would open the port was none other than Aruke. Izuku. Hello principal, how are you? I came to talk when I'm going to join the classes. Zuno. Yes, I already know when he will be integrated, it will be on Monday. It's Friday. So he has 2 days to move into the dorms. Izuku. Okay, I'll see you on Monday, so here is the location where you should pick up, leaves and closes the door. Zuno thought. Now what surprises will you bring to this school, young Midoriya? Time skip Monday. Everyone from Shiketsu was in their school's auditorium because the principal called a meeting. Extra. What is the important thing they want to tell us? Inasa. I don't know, but it will surely be important, with his typical smile. Kami. Yes, for sure, he said it, discouraged at not knowing anything about his Izu. Ankoku. Calm down, Kami, don't be sad. But before they continued, the stage lights came on and the director was seen. Zuno. Hello young people, I called you because I have an important notice that will be communicated to you. Extra. And that it will be with doubt like everyone else. Zuno. They will have a new partner, Izuku Midoriya. Then a green ray was seen falling from the sky, and when they saw it, it was the one to be the next symbol of peace candidate. Everyone was shocked to hear that, but a honey-haired girl ran and jumped to hug him, which he responded with a red tinge. Kami. You had me worried, Baka with tears threatening to come out. Izuku. Surprise, I didn't answer you because I wanted to give you this surprise, with a smile. Kami. But what happened for you to be here and not at UA, with concern and doubt? Izuku. Now the director is going to comment on that. Zuno. You'll wonder what I'm doing here if I study at UA. PS he tells them how they betrayed him, and it goes without saying that everyone was surprised since he wasn't even allowed to refute or give evidence, they just kicked him out.
After a month at Ua no one remembered him anymore. Everyone forgot his tricks and everything he did except for a few people who are Todoroki, Hiroshima, some from Class B, Momo, Tsuyu, Jiro and Aizawa. Only they remembered the hero Deku. Eri was adopted by Inko but she considers her as her grandmother and Izuku as her father. After a year the truth came out that he hadn't done anything but it hadn't affected almost anyone since they didn't remember him except you know who and AM who felt bad and the director. While throughout that year, Shikatsu is positioned as the #1 and most prestigious school in all of Japan thanks to its best student Izuku Midoriya, and they wonder why he has his quirk if AM took it away from him. Well, something that AM did not remember, and that is what he said is essential. The OFA cannot be taken away, only given. Izuku and Kami went out a lot more and well you know they became a couple. Izuku changed his name from Hero to the Ripper, but he did not change his suit since they were his origins and it was inspired by the first suit that his mother made for him, which was something he treasured and had as a trophy. Upon graduation, Izuku proposed to Kami, who accepted, crying because of all the happiness she felt at marrying the man she loves. After a year, everyone who did that to her died and they'll wonder why. I'll just say Uraraka, more sex with many people means illnesses XD. At Izuku and Kami's wedding something would happen that made Kami a little angry and Izuku almost died because of the beating his beloved gave him. I'll put that for another part of this story, of course, if you want or if I want. The year passed since the wedding. He had 6 children. I will only say a small spoiler: he married more than one. He is positioned in the top 1 worldwide. He bought a house in which his wives live. And his children, including Eri, who was happy to have a complete family and be an older sister. He also adopted Katsuma and Mihora, and you will wonder why. Because his father died in an accident and could not be cured, having lost his quirk with 9. For those who saw the movie well, and for those who do not see it, it is good. Izuku would be identified with Katsuma, seeing his spirit of a hero, but his quirk was not of one, so he became the 10th carrier. Of course he suffered hell to have it, but of course he healed his muscles and made them stronger, and Izuku took a beating from his wives for the demand in training. This is how they forgot about the hero Deku, and the best hero, the Ripper, was born. The screen turns off. Everyone was surprised by what happened, of how they were going to betray him without remorse. Kami was blushing from seeing her 2 children with the boy she loves. Izuku had fainted from so much information. AM was disappointed in himself while GT and RG hit him with their canes on the head, which he did not care about because he was in his thoughts. Some girls were jealous and intrigued since he had said wives, and they did not know who the other 3 were since 4 silhouettes were seen, but only Kami could be seen and the others as shadows. And well, Bakugo was angry to see the nerd that just as he decided to leave him, Izuku would be better than him, but he did not care about Kami using him. He only focused on that. He did not care that he did the death. Bakugo. Because the damn Deku is better than why. He gets hit with a blow that makes him even dumber and his Windows restarts. Mitsui. Shut up already. Damn abortion. With clear anger, she didn't care that he died. Rather, she was grateful, but she was a little jealous because according to her they took her nephew. Me. What did you think? Villains. AFO. We have to get rid of the boy before he becomes a danger. With clear fear. Heroes. Always listen to the other person and not just talk. Me. And what did you think, Izuku? Everyone would see him with his gaze lowered and saw how some tears came out of him. Everyone was worried, but he looked up and a brilliant smile was seen. Izuku. I thought it was incredible. Of course what they did to me hurt me and it is unforgivable. Those who blamed looked down except you know who, but it made me happy that in the finals I was able to be happy. I formed a family with the girl I love that made Kami blush and made her happy, and I was able to fulfill my dream. Zuno. Awibo. My school became the best. Take it. Nezu with a victorious smile, and everyone would see Nezu with a depressing aura in a corner. AFO thoughts. Who would have thought my son, the best in the world, hehe, sorry for not being with you. A tear comes out that I don't even know where it came from. Me speaking telepathically to him. Calm down, I'll help you tell them. AFO telepathically. Thank you, he said happily, since he loved Inko and his son but did not return for fear that they would use them to threaten him or harm them just for being relatives of a villain. Me. Well, tomorrow we will see the first universe and some are tired, but first questions. Tamura. Me with his typical hand on his face. Me. Okay, ask. Tamura. What happened to the league? Me. Izuku easily defeated you in AFO, I said simply. Everyone without exception was surprised, but one blonde couldn't stand it any longer. Bakugo. Why is the damn nerd better than me? But if I kill him I'll be the best, he said with a grim smile and launched himself at Izuku. Me. Okay, I'm tired, teleports him to a room. Where do I send him? Clearly worried, he prepares to attack. What an idiot or quirk he has. Me. I took it to a room where I think it's being renovated, ha 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 ha, with a creepy laugh that gave everyone chills. Izuku. Where are we going to rest? Me. They're pointing to a door that was two, blue and pink, blue for men and pink for women, so I almost forgot, snapped my fingers and the children appeared next to my pets. The kids were stuffed with Izuku merchandise, while eating Izuku-faced popsicles. Me. And did you have fun? Kids. Yes, it's the best in the world. There are Deku ne Izuku dad games, and so they started talking about everything they had seen in the park. Me. That's great. The children are going to sleep with Izuku since he is the most responsible and knows what to do to take care of them. Choo choo, it's time for them to go. Tomorrow we will see the first universe. Everyone left with a drop of sweat because of the attitude of the supposed god. Of course I was a little offended to see his thoughts. When I checked that I was alone, I saw you. Me. That's it for today's chapter. Let's say goodbye to the Cap, Deku and Catch. Deku, Catch. Bnha, Shine. If you see me waking up tired. Me. It's time to see Universes. I hope the others are already awake. Wakes up lazily, changes, and goes to the movies. Me. Hole. I see there's no one. Me. Deku. Catch right now here, I said, shouting so they can hear. V. Deku, Catch. Bnha, Shine. Me. Go wake everyone up. Wait while I put this on so they wake up. Puts a collar with a speaker on them. Deku, go to the women's area and wake them up. Like the same but with the men. Go, it's for today, sees how they leave now, wait. Suddenly a woof and shine were heard and followed by the screams of men and women. The puppies were seen running scared because they were being chased by men and women of bnha. They saw me and hid behind me. Everyone. Bakugo. Where are those dogs, in an angry tone? Me. Tranquil that no one does anything to my pets and I told them to do it to wake them up, in a carefree tone. Everyone. Bakugo. Why did you have to wake us up like this? With a vein.
Me. I thought his reaction was funny, with a small smile. They all got a drop for their behavior. Me. But changing the subject, snapped his fingers and Bakugo appeared with a traumatized face. I was saying that I forgot something. Why does it look like that with doubt me? I made him see something that would traumatize anyone. I felt a chill remembering what my friend told me about how he was traumatized. Changing the subject because what I made him see is not nice at all. Let's see a universe, a bit peculiar. Izuku. Peculiar. Me. Yes, with chibi face toga. Is there going to be blood? With his psychopathic smile. Me. Maybe, I don't know, it's a universe that I'm just creating, but what I'm going to show will be like a summary. AFO. And what is it about? Yo. Zombies all. Zombies asterisk, a little scared except Bakugo since he is still traumatized and didn't care about anything. Me. Yes, first of all I'll explain something to you so there are no doubts. You know that in the multiverse there is always something like a protagonist. A person who with just one decision changes everything. Everyone is surprised by that, and that is. They interrupt me. Monoma. I'm sure because Class B is better than Class A. JSJSSJSKJDDVJSSJ laughs like a seal, but Kendo knocked him out. Kendo. Excuse me for this idiot's attitude, with a vein for his partner's attitude. Extra. It's definitely AM, he said, the same as other extras XD asterisk. Hawks. I think it's the pattern, he said, clearly referring to Endeavor. And so they began to say that they were the protagonists except for the most humble ones, who I think already know who they are. Me. It's not any of you, it's someone who suffered a lot in his past, but it wasn't an impediment to being the best person. Everyone didn't know who he was. The protagonist is Izuku Midoriya, of course. Some people were upset that a useless person was the protagonist. Mineta. Because he's useless and I'm not. I'm supposed to be one to have a harem, he said with his typical face, and didn't expect the women's disgust towards him. Me. Damn, you're disgusting. Snapped his fingers and sent him where I sent Bakugo before anyone says anything. I sent him where I sent Bakugo. Bakugo stiffened at everything he saw. Me. First, Deku, catch, and the kids, go back to the park since this universe is not for you since it has some bloody scenes, I think. Everyone got a drop because they didn't know. Kids. Well, they left like lightning. Me. Deku, catch, take care of them, strokes their heads. Deku, catch. Wow, shine, and they left where the children went. Me. Okay, before we start, those who are hungry, just think of the food you want and it will appear they did what I said and it worked except for two. Muscular, Toga. Hey, because mine didn't show up. Muscular angry and Toga pouting. Me. I said food, meaning no blood and no weapons. Reluctantly, Muscular nodded and Toga continued with his pout. Me. Okay, it's time to start. Presses a button, the screen turns on. A slightly paler Izuku is seen walking through a UA that was on fire and destroyed. Everyone outside was surprised by how the best school was, and well, Nezu was crying for his school and Zuno was laughing at him. Pav. Izuku, you may wonder why the UA is like this. Well, you should see the city that is worse. But why did all this happen, right? Well, we have to go back 9 months. In a laboratory in China they were making a biological weapon. But due to a containment failure, a virus was created. It infected the scientist and well, he fell dead, or so they thought, because after 3 minutes on the ground he began to move. But he saw differential, his skin was green and was coming out, revealing his muscle fibers. Then he launched himself against the one closest to him and bit him. And so it was the virus. It took only 2 days to infect China. A week later the world. The nations could not do anything. They were resistant, stronger, more agile and did not feel pain. They were living dead, but we call them ghouls, and you will wonder why not zombies, because zombies eat everyone but they only seek to infect everyone. But now you will wonder why I am alone in the UA. What happened to the teachers, heroes, companions, etc. Well, first of all, the heroes were the first to fall when they tried to confront the ghouls, but with my companions and teachers, we have to go back 5 months. Flashback, you could see Izuku running alongside Uraraka. The two ran to a helicopter that would take them to a safe area. But Uraraka would use her quirk on Izuku and she would get on the helicopter and say something to him. Uraraka. Thanks for the sacrifice, Deku-kun, with a bitch smile. Off-screen, Uraraka. Ha ha ha, that's what he deserves for being a Deku, with the same smile. Of course, almost everyone got angry except those who already know. Endeavor that he didn't care, and mothers and some villains, since others did bother them. That's not done. Uraraka showed you with a sad fool, since he still hadn't overcome what would have happened in the future if he didn't intervene. Me. Shut up, pufferfish, you can't talk about that because of what's coming. Some laughed. The most obvious one who was going to laugh was AFO, who was dying of laughter because of that, and some were a little doubtful because of what he said would follow. Back to the screen, but what would hurt him would be to see his idol who saw him and gave him a superior smile, and the next words would break him. JS, thanks young Midoriya, but we don't need you anymore. I hope you like being a ghoulie with a superior smile. Pav. Izuku, by then I was broken. That's when I knew you can't trust anyone except your idols. I spent 8 months here alone, surviving as best I could, but 2 days ago I ran out and now I find myself sitting in the hallways while I see the apocalyptic landscape. Fin flashback narrator. Now we see Izuku standing up and heading to the entrance to sit down and wait for the time of his death. The ghouls surrounded him. He no longer had a reason to live. His mother had died before in an accident. His friends and idol betrayed him. He no longer had anything, or so he thought. Izuku. I would have liked to say goodbye to Melissa at least. Off-screen, Kami. And because of her, one of me. Are you unfaithful to me? With a threatening tone. Izuku. Wait. It's another Universi, but we're still nothing with nervousness and fear. Kami. But we're married and we have children with an aura that would scare even the toughest guy. AFO mind. Son. I know you don't listen to me, but I'll tell you, you got yourself a woman who, apart from loving you, will make you suffer, like your mother did with me. Remembers how a woman approached him and Inko beat him up for thinking he was being unfaithful, XD. Me. Calm down, it's another universe. In this one, they never met and Melissa is her best friend. Apart from the fact that they are both in love, I whispered the last part. Kami. Okay, you saved yourself from this Izu with her aura but more diminished. Izuku.
Oh okay nervously well Melissa was blushing because of what her crush said since during the time they were on island she wanted him to fall in love since he didn't care that she was quirky he didn't judge her. And David was looking for his shotgun. Back to the screen before the Gulas infected him, shots were heard. Izuku didn't know what was happening since he had his eyes closed waiting for his end. When he opened them he saw 5 men with some kind of black armor and a woman who had red armor. Take Doom's armor as a reference. I'm not putting it because it's lazy to put images XD. Izuku was surprised since he had been waiting for his rescue for months and when he was expecting his death, they rescued him. Izuku. Who are they? With a dull tone. You don't recognize me anymore Deku-kun. Izuku. That voice with a slightly more surprised tone and with a few small tears. The stranger took off her helmet and it was none other than Melissa Shield who quickly hugged Izuku since she was looking for him everywhere. Melissa. I missed you so much clinging tighter to the hug. Izuku. Me Melissa shedding tears and hugging back. Melissa. Deku-kun. Why are you like this and why are you here? They are supposed to have cleared this area. With a little happiness upon returning to her secret love and doubts why she was there. Izuku. Well, you see with a sad tone he proceeds to tell him everything they did to him and how they abandoned him without remorse. Melissa was very upset but at the same time disappointed in her uncle. Melissa. Come on, let's go to the plane, which will take us to a safe area where no ghoulie can pass since it's in the sky. It's like Island but better since it has better security and is higher in the sky with more happiness to be with her secret love. Izuku. It's okay thoughts. I can finally live peacefully and maybe be happy again hehe. He was so deep in his thoughts that he didn't notice Melissa calling him. Melissa. Deku. Izuku with a vein on his forehead since he didn't pay attention to her asterisk Izuku. He was frightened by the scream. Izuku. Why yes Melissa, what happened? Nervous. Melissa. You haven't answered in a while. I've been telling you to leave. What were you thinking? With a bit of anger and doubt. Izuku. Nothing, just in the future with his characteristic smile. Melissa. Okay, it's time to go. Narrator. After getting on they headed to a location that was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where the island was located. Of course it was safe. It had an artificial storm that covered them if there were invasions, and invasions will be said. There are factions that want more territory for their own good like the Amazons who are an exclusive faction of women. Of course if they see a man they rape him and kill him XD. That is an example and you can imagine the others. They arrived and the first thing Izuku did was look for a garbage can to vomit since it had made him dizzy. Melissa. Okay, calm down, you get used to it while patting her on the back while pretty. After Izuku vented, they went to give him a tour of the island so he could get used to it. After a year, Izuku would join the island's forces and also become Melissa's boyfriend, which was Melissa who took the step since Izuku was a sea of nerves. Off-screen you could see Akemi strangling Izuku who was red from everything he saw. Melissa was about to faint and a Dave. I think that's how it's written. I don't know XD. Locked in a perfect cube made by me so he wouldn't kill the broccoli. Of course he was trying to break it with his shotgun that I don't even know where he got it from. Me. Okay, calm down or I'll calm you down with an aura that made them scared and they calmed down. Okay, time to continue. Inside the screen after another year since Izuku joined the army, he recovered his smile since he was happy with Melissa, but they were also able to make a cure that could be transmitted through the air, but for that they had to go to the ventilation systems that were in the United States. Of course Izuku was designated for this mission. Melissa didn't want to, but he had to do it, but before leaving they made the delicious in case he didn't come back XD. Off-screen everything was chaos. A David, that's how it's spelled, I saw how it was still chasing Izuku all red while shooting him with his shotgun. Second from Akemi with a sandal. WTFXD. And Inko said that she was going to have many R's while rubbing it in Mitsuki's face. A fainted Melissa with a goofy smile. Some jealous women in Uraraka who said that she was unfaithful supported by Mina and Toru. Me. Enough snapped his fingers and tied those who were causing trouble to their seats. We have to continue with a vein because they don't let him enjoy the universe. Back to the screen they were already where they should be but it was dangerous they had to get in so it could spread throughout the world. First the team of 5 including Izuku tried to get in but they couldn't because a moving fan was blocking their way.
They had to go around to cut off the light, but he didn't know they had a certain amount of time until it turned back on. When they were about to enter another room, one stopped to pick up his weapon, but that would be his biggest mistake. The fan would turn on and would be attracting him. Izuku would turn around and try to grab his hand so he wouldn't die, but he didn't get there in time and the soldier died. Izuku felt bad, but they had to continue with the mission. They were about to arrive, but a horde of ghouls would interrupt their path. They managed to kill them, but the noise would echo, attracting more ghouls, so they hurried to get there, which they arrived when they were about to spread the antidote. A horde would break the door through which they entered. They didn't know what to do, but one of them, I would tell them the following. Soldier 2. Sorry team, but I won't be back with you today. I hope you can live and save the world. Soldier 2 would push them into another fan room where they would spread the antidote to save themselves. After a few seconds, someone was heard singing a sad song and then a boom, making them understand that he sacrificed himself for the well-being of all. They managed to arrive and spread the antidote. They would return to the helicopter they went in and would see thousands of ghouls lying on the ground, making them understand that it worked. They returned to the island and congratulated them on the mission, but they also held a funeral for the 2 fallen soldiers. Melissa would be pregnant, which Izuku cried with joy. After 5 months, the antidote spread throughout the world. The factions joined together to rebuild the cities and created a society where there was only equal conditions for all. No one was more than anyone else, and they will wonder what happened to those who betrayed Izuku. The helicopter in which they were leaving exploded due to some failures. Of course, no one would know because no one cared. XD. That's how Izuku was able to live with the family he formed in a world of darkness. The screen turns off. Everyone was happy because they had saved the world. Those who died had a depressive aura, and David was calmer seeing that his son was happy but a little angry for taking his little girl away from him. Me. And what did you think of the universe? Heroes. Okay. Villains. It wasn't bad. Girls. Beautiful boys. 50-50. Me. Okay, seems fine to me now. Any requests or questions? Toga. Could you give me some blood? With your typical smile. I don't. Underscore. Kami. Could you take me somewhere to go on a date with Izu? Me. Yes, snapped his fingers and they disappeared. Some girls were jealous. Me. Something else? All. Nothing. Me. Okay, I'm going to bring the children, snapped his fingers and they appear asleep from tiredness, wearing pajamas with the theme of Izuku's hero costume. It looks like they had fun, I said, looking at my pets. The tails laughed like that. Okay, I'm going to look for the next universe to see. So do what you want. Samples so much, I'm going to see what we'll see. Meanwhile, at the appointment, you could see Izuku and Kami having a picnic in the middle of a sakura forest. Not the useless one. I mean sakura trees. XD. They were chatting until Kami asked something. Kami. Izuku wanted to tell you this for a long time, but I didn't know how to tell you, said with a red tint. Izuku. What's up? Kami with his typical smile. Kami. Well, Izu, I've liked you for a long time. I didn't know how to tell you. It broke my heart to know that you were company. I didn't finish because it was a kiss for Izuku, who had a little more confidence. Izuku. Kami, I like you too. I used to like Uraraka too, but not anymore because of everything that happened. So Kami, would you like to be my girlfriend? With her typical smile. Kami. Yes, and 1,000 times yes. Jumps to hug him and kisses him with love. XD asterisk. Back to the room. Some people were talking about the universe, but some bitch with a Kirby complex had a question. Pararaka. This gentleman who was scared in that universe. Me. Well, I said to see my tablet. It says here that you were dismembered and thrown to the ghouls. Uraraka. Why? She said, horrified by the end she deserved. Me. Well, you ate a lot and nobody liked you. I said as if it were nothing. In a room you could see a kid tied to a chair with a device that wouldn't let him close his eyes in front of a television while blood was coming out of his eyes, and he had a traumatized face, the same as Bakugo's. You might wonder if what he sees to make him feel like that is what traumatizes the most macho guy possible. Boku no Pico XD. Me. I know what we're going to see asterisk with a foxy smile. AFO. What are we going to see asterisk with his smile? Everyone was surprised by his actions as he seemed very calm. AFO. What happened that you're looking at me? With doubt. All. Nothing. AM. Young man, huh? We don't know how to tell him. Me. It's true, but first I'm going to bring them, snapped his fingers, and Kami and Izuku appear kissing. Hey, calm down, you horny ones, with a mischievous smile. The two quickly separated with a blush. Inku. Yes, I already have a daughter-in-law, I think it was like that XD. Eri. Yes, I already have a mom with a smile that gave me diabetes and jumping to hug Kami. Kami. Yes, my little one, I am your mommy with a smile. Everyone was moved by the scene, some girls were jealous, and one Uraraka was already exploding. Uraraka. Deku-kun, are you cheating on me? With an angry tone. Izuku. I'm not cheating on you because we broke up, bitch. Everyone was surprised by what was said since the innocent man, the one who didn't insult anyone, was now calling his ex-girlfriend a bitch. Uraraka. Why are you doing this to me with fake tears? Izuku. Don't act like a saint, you know what you did to me and we also saw it in the possible future, so there's nothing to explain. Bakugo. Damn Deku, how dare you be with that bitch who was AS. I didn't finish because he received a blow to the face that broke his nose and left him KO and they'll wonder who it was. P.S. No less than Izuku. Izuku. I won't let you insult a girl as beautiful and kind as Kami, damn Muslim with a look that would give chills to all men. Except AFO who was proud. The girls had a blush and well, Inko said that she raised him well. Me. Okay, leaving that aside, I'm going to tell you my name is Thunder_1201 but you can call me Thunder. We're going to start but puts a finger on his chin. I think I'm forgetting something. No, it's definitely nothing with a chibi face. In a room heart-rending screams could be heard from a person who was none other than a minor who was crying seas of blood, shouting, "Get me out of here," or, "I'm not a pervert anymore, but no more." Back at the movies me. Today we will not see a universe, but what happened at the wedding, but for that we have to see what happened at Izuku's bachelor party. Everyone would be attentive since they were eaten up by curiosity. The screen turns on, you can see Izuku, Minona, Kirishima, Tetsu and Shoto in a room. Shoto. Congratulations Izuku, you're getting married tomorrow with a smile. Kirishima. Yes, you finally took the next step, that's for men with a manly tear. Minona. And where will the wedding be, Izuku? Izuku. P.S. It's going to be in Los Angeles since we were banned from getting married this year because of what happened at the wedding. Flashback, you can see Izuku and Kami at the altar waiting for the father who was talking about something with Endeavor that was invited by Fuyumi. Father. Mr. Endeavor could put out his fiery beard. Endeavor. I'm sorry but he came with the suit but he didn't realize that he burned a tree that was next to him and then the church burned down. Father. My church with a tear. Lord Jesus Christ, I'm sorry for insulting but cracks his knuckles. You screwed up. Launches himself against Endeavor making a bigger mess while Shoto was recording and laughing his head off. The women felt sorry for Kami. And lastly this one was. Better you guys see her. Kami. Look at our wedding, it's beautiful, don't you think? Izu with a twitch in her son. Izuku was filled with fear, he was retreating, but every time he retreated he advanced, until he crashed into a wall and there was no escape. Heartbreaking screams were heard from the church and then you could see an Endeavor more dead than alive with an Izuku beaten by Kami who was being comforted by the girls and a father washing his hands in a sink that was magically there. Fin flashback off screen, the girls were beating each other up because a woman's wedding was sacred. The men were in a corner in fear, including the villains and a girl who had a depressing aura. Minona. Because I'm with Tetsu Stu with the stupid class A with an arrogant tone. Me. Well, they're your friends, and you will ask yourself why. Well, there came a time when you tired your entire class and no one approached you, you became depressed, Izuku saw you all sad, at first you pushed him away but then he managed to gain your trust. First he helped you change and then they went to your class to apologize and if they would give him a second chance, which they accepted since they saw you change. You were no longer arrogant, you treated everyone as equals and from then on you were happier, I said with a smile. Minona was thinking about how she treated everyone and began to wonder why he would do that if she always bothered him. Minona. And why did he do that if I was always mean to him? With a calm tone but with doubt since I thought he only did it out of shame for being in class A. Me. He never cared about what you told him because he knew there was something behind your actions. You told him how you suffered and how your arrogant personality arose. He helped you by seeing that it is not true and how you can be a better person and hero. Minona smiled but it wasn't one of her typical arrogant smiles but a real one which surprised her class and made Izuku smile at what his future self had done. Back to the screen, Izuku. Don't even remind me, I'm still afraid of Kami with a shiver. Shoto. I still can't get enough of seeing the father beating up the old man, he said, wiping a tear from his eye while watching the video. Kirishima. And are we going to have a farewell or not? Izuku. I don't know if I should do it, I'm afraid Kami would find out if we did something stupid. Scared. Shoto. Come on, ask him, and if he says okay, then great, and if not, we'll just play video games. With a small smile. As if by magic, Kami appears behind Izuku, touching his shoulder. Izuku. Kyyyyyy, I say, taking a drop out of everyone and some laughter like outside and inside the screen. Kami. I heard all love and if you can say goodbye but no alcohol or else you know what's happening to you, with an aura that would scare the shit out of AFO himself. Izuku. Why yes, love scared Kami. Okay, I'm leaving, disappears into the shadows, which scared everyone. Monoma. Okay, this is already terrifying with fear. Kirishima. Changing the subject where we say goodbye with his smile. Shoto. I say in Hawaii, very calm with a relaxed tone. Izuku. Not far, but then Aizawa appears from the shadows. Aizawa. And why not in Las Vegas? Then a very manly scream was heard. The 5. Kaya, although masculine. Izuku. Where did it come from? Clutching his heart in fear. Aizawa. I was here from the beginning, but I move so slowly that they can't see me, while putting a leaf jelly bean in his mouth. Shoto. I still see it with chibi face. Aizawa. Damn, throwing his gummies back, hitting someone in the face who fell into an open sewer. XD*, changing the subject. Why aren't we going to Las Vegas? It's close to Los Angeles. Why, what happens in Las Vegas? The 5. Stay in Vegas, continuing what his master said. Izuku. Sounds good to me. But how are we going to go if the wedding is in 2 days and tomorrow we'll all have to get ready? Aizawa. Easy, we're going today to celebrate, he said as if it was the most obvious thing. Izuku. How are we going? I'm poor, with a tear since everything was lost at the wedding. Shoto. I have the solution, with black glasses and a platinum gold card between his fingers. They are now seen on a plane flying to Los Angeles, while Izuku was confused as to how they got there. Izuku. How did we get here? Shoto. We brought you when you didn't realize. Simple. Izuku. And how did they pay for this? With a tone of concern that they'll use what he had left. Shoto. Easy, the old man's card I found there, with a smile. Flashback. Endeavor is seen sitting in his office leaving his things on the table, and if we look closely at the window you can see a white lock of hair. Endeavor at one point went to the bathroom, and then you could see that the white lock of hair belonged to Shoto, who made a hole in the window to get in and steal Endeavor's wallet. After stealing it he went away, fixing the hole without leaving any evidence that he was there. Fin. Flashback. Shoto. Yes, I found it lying, with a smile. Izuku. And how are we going to go to the places we want because walking is lazy? Shoto. Don't worry, I've got it sorted. The old man lent me his car, with a bigger smile. In the Todoroki house you can see an Endeavor with a smile opening his garage door to take out his car, but there was nothing there. Endeavor. What the hell? He didn't finish because he realized there was a note on the floor. He picked it up and started reading it. In the note. Dude, if you noticed, your car is gone and you'll wonder what happened. Well, I took it for something and you don't care, and if you can't find your wallet, well, I took it too. With hatred, your son Shoto. P.S. Fuck you, old man. I hope you suffer, ha 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 ha. You could see an Endeavor with many veins on his face. Endeavor. SHOOTOO heard throughout Musutafu *. Off-screen Endeavor. SHOTOOWHYYYYYYY with veins just like his on-screen self. Shoto. For my mom, for doing what you did to me as a child, do you want me to continue? With a smile, seeing his old man upset since his face was art for him. Endeavor remained silent with a depressing aura, whispering of children who do not understand that one tries to change or that they steal everything, being consoled by Hawks. Everyone had a drop, but the other Todorokis were happy to see him like that except Fuyumi. Endeavor is already trying to change just in case. Back to the screen. When they arrived, the first thing they did was take the car off the plane and then get on and go to Las Vegas. Since they landed in a desert near Las Vegas, they stopped to refuel and buy food since they were hungry. Aizawa. Okay, I'll fill up the gas. Go buy what you need, with his bored look. The 5 boys went to buy food, but when they returned to the car they saw Izuku reading a book that told how to be the best at blackjack. Kirishima. Why are you reading that, bro? Hesitantly. Izuku. Since we were going to Las Vegas, which is the city of gambling, it would be really stupid not to know how to play blackjack, don't you think? Making everyone agree with him and letting them continue reading. Everyone when they arrived was excited and thrilled by the view. They all stopped at a 5-star hotel in the middle of it all. Shoto. Hello. How much are the rooms? Receptionist. $500 a night. Monoma. Wow wait, I'm not sharing a room with you. How much is the suite? Receptionist. $5,000, telling him as if it were the most common thing. When they were about to say only the rooms, Shoto spoke first. Shoto. Don't worry, I'll pay for it, giving him the platinum gold card. Izuku. There's no need for this, Todoroki. Shoto. Calm down, this makes me happy, spending money on the old man too, but more so being with you all. Everyone got a drop because of the second thing he said, just like those outside the screen, and so Endeavor was even more depressed, since if they continued like this they would leave him poor. After finishing paying, they would go to the suite, which surprised them with its luxury. It had 5 bedrooms, a pool, a living room, and a rooftop. After settling in, they went to the rooftop to start the night, since it had taken them all day to get there. Shoto. Well, we're here, it's time to start. Pass me the drinks, Monoma. Monoma goes for the drinks but adds something that no one noticed. Monoma. Here they are, *, gives them to each one *. Izuku. I don't know, I'd better just drink it, I don't want to screw it up, he said, hesitating whether to drink. Kirishima. If you're right, you'll get married the day after tomorrow. You'll have to take care of her, fulfill your duty for her, spend time with her, not go out with your friends anymore. But before Izuku continues, he takes the can of beer without hesitation, since it was beer, and raises it. Izuku. For my last night, and may it be unforgettable. Everyone did the same as Izuku. Then the screen went black. Off-screen Aizawa. It's over already? With doubt like everyone else. Me. No, wait a minute, making them look at the screen, but some bastard son of Sonic had to speak. Lita. Drinking alcoholic beverages is not the hero attitude with her robot movement and continuing with her stupidity, but nobody paid attention to her. Back to the screen now. The screen turns on, but you see a room with women's clothing, and Izuku was on a bed next to 3 bundles. Izuku. What happened? Trying to get up, but he had more weight *. Looks down and sees the 3 lumps. Please don't let it be what I think. Praying to the 4 winds, he uncovers the sheets and they could see. Off-screen to-dos. Melissa, May, Fuyumi? Yo? Kami was with a dark aura getting dangerously close to Izuku, and when she reached him she took him to a room and screams were heard. The aforementioned were blushing and imagining unholy things. Eri. Yes, more mommies * giving bronchitis of joy * AFO thoughts. It seems that you have not wasted Shigaraki's charm, with a smile being seen by Tamura, who was surprised by his attitude. Inko. What have I done wrong as a mother? With comical tears. Me. How dramatic, and keep watching. Back to the screen. Now Izuku was blushing red, but with his audacity he got up without waking them up and left the room with his clothes on, of course. When he left he saw a complete mess. Shoto still with all the know-it-alls painted black and with a red kimono. I think it was like that. And a Kirishima stuck to the ceiling. Izuku goes and picks up Shoto. Shoto. Huh? What step, Izuku? Kantono de Duda. Izuku. Yes, I am, but what happened yesterday? And why is he like this? Hesitantly. Shoto. What are you talking about? Izuku passes him a broken mirror and he sees himself. Shoto. No, my beautiful hair, with comical tears. That scream woke Kirishima up. Kirishima. Eh. And that scream, but the children would have been fine when they saw that he wasn't on the floor *. Help me, moving, look for me, making him fall on his face, and quickly Izuku and Shoto go to help him. Oh yes, it hurt. And what happened yesterday? Shoto. Izuku. We don't know. Kirishima. And what about you, Tetsu, or Aizawa? Izuku. We don't know. Off-screen at this point everyone was laughing except the lost ones. Aizawa. Decided to arrive at UA. They're going to go around in circles to lose me, giving the four girls a shiver since Izuku was unconscious from the beating his girlfriend gave him. I snap my fingers and heal him so he can see. Kami. Mr. Thunder, could you send me to a room with the aforementioned people who were on the screen? Me. Don't tell me, sir. I'm barely 14,000 years old, that is, in my world 14 with a depressing aura that they will call him sir already made him feel old asterisk, but I can fulfill your request. I snap my fingers and they disappear. We have to keep talking while they talk and hope they are not massacring each other, making all the men shiver. Back to the screen. They would start searching the rooms to find them, but they couldn't find them, so two were missing. Tetsu and Izuku, who got nervous and said that it was better to go to Tetsu first. When they arrived they would open the door and the three. Ha 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 HJJBDVDSJSSDJ convulsing with laughter at what they saw. And they will ask what they saw. Well, you could see a Monoma dressed as a woman while a white liquid comes out of his mouth and a Tetsu hugging him from behind, and well, because of the laughter they got up and when they saw how they were. Monoma. Tetsu. Ah, they screamed too loudly, making the other three stop laughing. Off-screen everyone was laughing without exception, except for those who appeared while they were disgusted and with a depressing aura. Back to the screen. Kirishima. Tetsu bro, I know you like manly things, but I didn't think I'd get to this point, making everyone laugh again while Tetsu had a depressing aura. Izuku. Yeah, very good and all, but it's not time to laugh at how idiots they're asterisk, he said, holding back his laughter. Do you know where Aizawa is? Tetsu. Monoma. Dude, we just woke up, how are we going to know? With a drop for his question. Izuku. It's also true with a chibi face. Shoto. One room is missing, which is Izuku's, with a tone of hope that he's there. Izuku got nervous. I don't think it's a good idea to enter, it will be somewhere else, hoping they wouldn't go, but it was late and no one was there. He quickly ran to see his friends opening the door. Izuku. Don't do it, trying to stop them, but it was too late. When they opened it they saw the girls full of white liquid, XD, which surprised them and made them blush since they were naked, but Shoto was seen with a gloomy look when he saw his sister and they quickly closed the door. Shoto saw Izuku and lunged to strangle him. Shoto. I gave you my friendship and you spit it in my face with clear anger. Izuku. But I don't remember what happened yesterday, with difficulty speaking due to the movement. Shoto. It's also true, already calmer and leaving it, but what you did was very bad. Midoriya with a cold look. Kirishima. Changing the subject of Izuku sleeping with more than one, Aizawa-sensei is nowhere to be seen, making the others worry. Izuku. I know, and we called him, calling him, making a song play in the room they were in, and they noticed it was in the wallet that had Monoma asterisk. Monoma. They're calling me, answers hello. Who is it? Izuku on the call. Monoma, it's me. What are you doing with Aizawa-sensei's cell phone? Hesitantly. Monoma called. No, I don't know, and why do we talk on the phone if we're in the same room? Making everyone laugh. Izuku called. I don't know, cutting the call when Monoma was going to answer, making everyone laugh at the funny scene. Izuku. Let's look in your pockets and see what you have. Everyone does as told. Izuku. I have a receipt that I exchanged blackjack chips for $1 million, making everyone open their eyes. Monoma. I have a hospital receipt for an operation, he said with doubt about what that operation would be. Shoto. I got a receipt for dyeing my hair and a kimono. Kirishima. I don't have anything, just a necklace with shark teeth. Damn, that's disgusting. It looks like it has blood on it. I throw the necklace away in disgust. Tetsu. I don't have anything, just this ring, surprising everyone. Izuku. Well, let's go to the locations first, to the hospital. They went out to the parking lot to go get their car, but they saw that they had a Lamborghini, which left them surprised. They all searched in all their pockets and saw Izuku take a paper out of his back pocket. Izuku. Guys, I bought a Lamborghini for $1 million, surprised like everyone else. Shoto. Now that doesn't matter. Let's go to the hospital. So Izuku and Kirishima left in the Lamborghini and the other three in Endeavor's car. When they arrived at the hospital they went to the doctor. Doctor. Oh, it's you, carelessly Izuku. Us? Doctor. Yes, you were here yesterday for an operation for the pointing at Monoma asterisk. Izuku. Could you tell us why you had the surgery? We don't remember anything. Afraid of what could happen. Doctor.
So, we received some tests that were done yesterday.
Izuku.
What do they say?
Doctor. He says they had a drug, I think it's called Rufus. I don't know the truth. He only says that and about the operation. It was so she could get pregnant and it was a resounding success, leaving a pale Monoma and a Tetsu touching Monoma's now belly, making everyone feel sorry for Monoma asterisk.
Izuku.
Wait, drug, and how did it get into our blood?
Doctor.
I don't know, we only do tests, and by the way, if this helps, they said they would go to the church that is right around the corner without saying anything more than goodbye. Disappearing into particles, leaving everyone shocked.
Kirishima.
That's too manly. Okay, it's time to go to church. Leaving like that. When they arrived at the church, a strange guy told them that Tetsu and Monoma got married, which made them pale. Then they went to where Shoto's hair was dyed and also gave them the information that he changed his name to Zuko XD. Then they went to Black Jack, which was Chaos, and now it was in Izuku's name, so he was rebuilding it and becoming a millionaire. I lost his tall face. Their Monoma couldn't stand the guilt anymore and told them that he had the drugs, but he didn't know this would happen. They went with him. He sold them the drugs, who, to their surprise, was Shinso. Off-screen Shindo. Finally the leading role, wiping away a tear. Back to the screen Shinso. Yes, I sold him the cocaine as if it were the most common thing. Izuku. Wei eso no era cocaina era Rufus con cara chibi. Shinso. Seriously, I was confused, but that nonsense leaves you up to your neck in anger. The last part resonated in Izuku's head. Izuku. Guys, I already know where Sensei is. So everyone went to the hotel on the way. Izuku told them he was on the roof. When they arrived they quickly went up, looked for him and saw him in a corner who was all red. Kirishima approached, but when he touched him Aizawa instinctively hit him. It is his masculinity which left him on the floor after that scene. Aizawa. They took a long time with clear pain. Izuku. It doesn't matter, we spent the whole day trying to find him. There are 4 hours left until the wedding, he said, crying since they wouldn't arrive. Shoto. There's still time, we have to hurry. That's how it was. They quickly went down to the parking lot and got into the cars. While they went they changed so as not to waste time. When they arrived they kicked the door and had a normal wedding until the end. Stu. Guys, look at this camera, here is everything we experienced. Monoma. We have to get rid of that, pointing at the camera while hugging Tetsu, who both accepted for the sake of the baby. XD, I know it's really shady, asterisk. Presenter. Now we're going to see photos of the wedding with a smile. Worker 1. Put the camera on worker 2. Which one is there too? Worker 1. Put any, but it's for now. Worker. Okay, puts on the camera. When they turn on the camera, everyone sees the screen and sees everything that happened, like Shoto dyeing his hair, the operation, how Kirishima went into the sea and fought a shark, pulling out its teeth and making a necklace, how Izuku won millions and how they gave him the deeds to the casino because the owner bet his casino, then how he called Melissa, Fuyumi and Mei to meet up, how he flirted with the three of them, and at the end how they did it, making the girls blush. Kirishima. Wow, we did a lot of things. Kami with a purple aura. Yes, many things, cracking knuckles. Then Izuku's screams were heard, but things didn't end there since they told him that Melissa, Mei and Fuyumi were pregnant, so Izuku had to be hunted 3 more times the same day, which Kami reluctantly accepted, and on the other hand the parents chased Izuku, who ran. Endeavor threw fire at him. David shot him with his shotgun, and well, Mei's dad was carrying a rusty spoon. XD. The screen turns off. You can see the same scene from the end in the movie theater. Inko happy because her son took responsibility for his actions, AFO proud of his son, and Eri jumping for joy for having more mommies. Me. Okay, enough snapping and calming everyone. Well, it's time for you to go. Tomorrow we continue, but before that I remembered that I forgot. Snapped his fingers. You can see a dying boy, pale and with a traumatized face. Also snap again and bring the girls who left, who looked smiling. Okay, now go to your rooms. I see you leave. Now that you're gone I turn around and see them. I hope you liked the cap because it was very difficult for me to write it and my fingers hurt. If there are any spelling mistakes it's because I wrote too fast. Deku. Catch. Say goodbye to the chapter. Deku, Kacha, now it will be called Kacha, or leave suggestions. Wow, shine. In Izuku's room you can see Izuku in his room half asleep because his girlfriend had woken him up to tell him something, but she wasn't alone, she was with Mei, Melissa and Fuyumi. The Qs were nervous. Izuku. What happened? Love? Doubtful and sleepy Kami. Well, You see, the girls want to ask you something nervous about how her boyfriend would react. Mei, Melissa, Fuyumi, Izuku, Deku-kun, we asked ourselves, you wanted to be our boyfriend. The last thing was whispered so Izuku didn't hear it. Izuku. What did they say? I didn't hear with doubt since he didn't hear them. Mei, Melissa, Fuyumi. You wanted to be our boyfriend. They screamed with a sea of nerves. Izuku opened his eyes wide, causing him to wake up completely. Izuku. Girls, I'm sorry bu. I didn't finish because Kami spoke. Kami. Izuku. I already talked about it and so I accepted this since I know that you love us all equally, caressing Izuku's cheek. Izuku. It's okay, we can try, he said smiling, and then the girls threw themselves into his arms and took turns kissing him. In my room. Me. There's love, I said, watching the scene on my cell phone. Well, it's time to see a new universe, I said to press a button. Me through speakers in the hallways of the rooms. Well, it's time for you to go to the movie theater, I said to stop pressing the button. And you'll tell me why not just wake them up with a scare so they don't complain and complain XD. In the movie theater. Everyone was already in the movie theater, but you could see the freckled one being hugged by Mei, Kami, Melissa and Fuyumi. Everyone was clearly surprised, but the Castros were not missing. Lita. Hey, Mei, why don't you come with a real man? With an arrogant smile. Mei. Shut up, son of Sonic. I'm not going to leave my boyfriend for a Four Eyes. He surprised everyone with the boyfriend thing, making some women jealous and bothering Lita. He would approach to try to hit her, but Izuku knocked him out in a quick movement. Izuku. Know your place, trash, and go with the 3,000 yen, making some laugh. Uraraka. How dare you do that to Lita-kun, she said, and then tried to slap him, but Fuyumi threw a blizzard of ice at her. Fuyumi. Don't touch my boyfriend, looks back and sees the looks of her fellow Harem members, our with a little nerves. Everyone was surprised, and Devor and David were chained so they wouldn't hurt the freckled one. Eri. Yay, more mommies, said to jump into the arms of Izuku's girlfriends. Inko. Hee, that way I'll have more grandchildren, she said, imagining lots of little green-haired children with blonde, honey-colored, pink and white locks, hee, more to give them more love. AFO thoughts. You fill me with pride. I wonder why Tamura can't be like you, with a hand on his helmet with disappointment in Tamura. Tamura for some reason felt sad and didn't know why. I appear from a portal riding a lion. Me. Yes, it was cool to see pixels again. It made me remember my childhood, wiping away a tear. Well, lion, it's time for you to come back, I said to see how my lion left while everyone looked at me. What? Do I have something on my face? All. Nothing. Me. Well, today we will see parts of a universe called Injustice, making some doubt because of the title. Well, the characters will be Batman equals Shinso, Superman equals Izuku, Damian's Robin equals Katsuma, Red Hood equals Kota, Flash equals Lita, Reverse equals Stain, Green Arrow equals Monoma, Shazam equals Denki, Joker equals Tamura. Me. Before seeing this, the children have to go because it is loud. I whistle and you hear little steps and you could see Deku and Kacha coming. Well, you know, take them. So the two dogs nodded and went with the children. It is time to start. The screen turns on. I'm still dating someone new. Izuku. Only villains should fear me while breaking a handcuff. Shinso. Monoma and Denki were villains. Izuku. Victims of war. Now we saw scenes of how Izuku killed Monoma with his fists and how he froze Denki's mouth and then pierced him with his laser eyes. Off screen, everyone was surprised by what that Izuku had done. All. Context. Me. Well, here Izuku turned bad. I'm not going to say why. Just watch in some scene, it will appear why he turned bad and why he killed them. Denki was thinking of betraying him and Monoma for being on the opposite side, leaving the two mentioned frozen. Back to the screen. Now you could see Alita running and he stopped immediately, and then in front of him Stain stopped. Stain. How is your brother? Lita. Lita. It was you, right? Stain. I'm all the bad days you've had. Now we saw scenes like Stain attacking Lita's brother. Off screen. Stain. Now that's art. Lita. Damn, said to try to attack him but was tied by chains. Let me go while moving abruptly. Me. Shut up and let me see. I hit him so he calms down but he faints. I think I went too far. What does it matter? Let's continue. While everyone had a drop of sweat because of what was said. Inside the screen, now Katsuma and Shinso could be seen.
Shinso. I forgive deaths. Katsuma. I'm your only student. Shinso. Dick was also my student. Now we saw scenes of how someone like Katsuma threw his stick at a boy who fell from the blow and broke his neck with a rock, and as a second Shinso carried him to the outside of what looked like a hospital. Off screen, everyone was surprised by what Katsuma had done. Izuku. What happened to Katsuma to make him do that? With doubt. Me. Well, that boy is Dick Grayson, he's Shinso's first student, and Katsuma thought that he didn't take him seriously, so out of anger he threw a fighting stick at his head, causing him to fall and break his neck, as you can see on the screen. Making everyone surprised. Inside the screen, now you see a Tamura with a knife in front of him still wearing a helmet. Tamura. We're dead. What are we doing here? Kota. This is hell and I am the devil. Tamura. How I missed your sense of humor. Now you could see how Tamura tortured Kota until he was dying in another scene wherein Izuku goes through Tamura's chest. Off screen, Tamura was scared shitless of seeing him die and a crying Shino being fucked by Izuku while his girlfriends looked at him with jealousy. AFO. What happened to the boy and Tamura? I asked with doubt. Me. Well, first with Kota, as you will see, Tamura tortured him to break Shinso since he was another student of his, surprising everyone by what Tamura did and why Izuku killed him. Well, you will see now. The screen turns on. Now two Izukus were seen. I'll name the evil one Deku and the good one Izuku. Deku. I am the savior of this world, I protect it as he descends from the sky. Izuku. Is that what's happening out there, protection? Deku. Disobedient children must be punished. Izuku. Kids, we're not gods, we don't decide who lives and who dies. Deku. The decision is mine, Tamura made it mine when he turned me into a weapon of mass destruction. Now scenes were seen of how Izuku was carrying the body of a dead Pixie Bob and other scenes of all those he killed. Off screen, everyone was surprised by the scenes plus a Pixie Bob who was in shock, and when they were going to ask I spoke before. Me. Keep watching by making everyone look at the screen. Back to the screen, Izuku. I know what you lost. Deku. And you judge me. Deku. When I kill you, I'll bring Pixie Bob here, and when I see how I perfect this world. She. Izuku. She would be terrified and horrified. Deku. She would be alive. Now we see scenes of Izuku and Pixie Bob hugging, then a son of the two, and then how they looked like a family with their son. The screen turns off. Now everyone was surprised. Pixie Bob was calmer and blushing at the thought of having a family with Izuku, and her girlfriends were jealous and had an aura of death. Some. Now can you tell us what happened? Me. Yeah, well, Tamura made a drug that made Izuku think that his wife Pixie Bob, making her blush, was a monster and only he could kill her since that monster was only chaos, and when the effect wore off he saw that it was Pixie Bob and got angry and broke down. He flew quickly looking for Tamura and saw that Shinso caught him and then took it from him and pierced him, beginning his reign, making them surprised. Brides. Thunder might lead us to a room with Miss Pixie Bob with a purple aura. Making men terrified and Pixie Bob nervous. Me. Okay, snapped his fingers and they're gone while you guys eat. I'm going to see what we'll see, and also snapped his fingers and the kids appear with my pets. Well, time stopped stopping time and looking at them. Well, that's it for another chapter of this story. See you in the next one. Time resumes and time started to flow again while everyone was seen talking normally without realizing that I had stopped them in time while the screen where this chapter could be seen turned off. Me. Well, I already found the universe that we will see, but it is very bloody, so the children will have to leave again. XD.
So the children left accompanied by my dogs. Me. Tell me, Class A, you would be capable of killing just for fame. Girls. Uraka. Of course not. Boys. Izuku, Ajiro, Shoto. It's a sacrifice that has to be made with an arrogant smile. Bakugo. Only the extras deserve Mo. He didn't finish as he fell unconscious from his mother's level 10 zap. Mitsuki. Shut up, you damn guy, you had an abortion. You would have gone better off with your fucking father. Note. Masaru was unfaithful to Mitsuki and divorced her, and then he left XD, of course, with an explosion in Mitsuki's face. XD. Me. Well. Now we will see a universe where the whole class betrays without exception, I mean only the students in the class. Boys. Ajiro, Shoto. Ha 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 ha, that's what the damn guy deserves. He's just useless. Izuku didn't give a damn about this since he was on Melissa's breasts. Ajiro, Shoto. Impossible, we would never do that to him, friend. Me. Not you, but different universes, thousands of possibilities. And you're probably wondering why Uraraka is so quiet, right? Well, after seeing how Lita didn't care, she started to think that she was fine. The girls, Uraraka. We wouldn't do that, much less Izuku-san with a red tint. Me. I already told you different blah blah blah, it's already boring to say the same thing, everyone got a drop because of what I said. Well, it's time to start and I hope your stomachs are ready. I snap my fingers and buckets appear next to each one. The screen turns on Izuku. This is my revenge continued to pierce Shoto's body. Shoto. Sorry, he said, giving his last breath. Then the camera moved away from that scene to reveal the bodies of some of the class mutilated, headless, just a pool of blood. Off-screen some couldn't stand the scenes and vomited into the buckets. What the? I didn't finish *AFO. What happened there? Young Thunder moving forward to the inflated balloon. Me. Well, it will be explained there, pointing at the screen. Back to the screen. Pav. Izuku, you may be wondering why I'm killing my class. Well, let me explain. To do this, we have to go back 5 years when we were in 2A at the Uehiro school. Flashback, I was starting my happiest day since it was July 15th, my birthday. My friends organized a reservation at a pizzeria, but I didn't think that would be my last birthday party. Now the whole class A could be seen, except for the teacher. Arriving at the pizzeria, they would already be at the entrance. Ajiro. Mido bro, go ahead with a smile that wouldn't give Izuku much confidence. Izuku doubted he would enter. When they saw that he was no longer there, they began to talk. Bakugo. You know what to do, so everyone nodded. So they entered, seeing an Izuku like you see the animatronics with stars in their eyes since it was his first time. Uraraka. Deku-kun come for a while to talk about something, she said, so that they two then entered a room that was parts of animatronics, but Izuku did not realize that Bakugo and Lita entered too, and Uraraka, seeing this, smiled. Uraraka. Look, here we have your gift, Deku-kun. I say that so that Lita can knock out Izuku later. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, it's time to start, call the others, he said, so Uraraka would call them. So Class A would bring an animatronic suit that looked like a rabbit, but its metal was rusty, the cables were sticking out and some parts were broken. Then everyone would put Izuku's body in the suit, but no one would notice that when they put it in, a purple liquid would come out of some parts. Izuku would wake up to see all his classmates. Izuku. Guys, is this a joke, right? He said nervously and fearfully, since he saw that he was in an animatronic suit and the pieces were squeezing fasting parts of his body. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, did you really think we were only going to come here to celebrate your birthday? Ha 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 ha, then threw an explosion at him which made the suit's mechanism move through his arms. Izuku. Ah, a heart-rending scream was heard. Uraraka. I'm sorry, but they are no longer useful to us. Deku-kun, she said, to make him levitate and then make him crash strongly against the ground, causing the mechanism to activate again, now going through his legs. Izuku. Ah. Would scream louder because of the pain. Lita. Did you really think we were your friends? How skeptical you are, she said, to activate her recipro burst and kick him in the chest, causing the mechanism to activate, but this time in its guarantee. Izuku, drowning in his own blood, would give one last word. Izuku. I will get revenge even if it's the last thing I do. Then his head falls down while a lot of blood falls from the rabbit suit. Bakugo. Next part of the plan. Denki, did you spread nitrogel? I think that's what Bakugo's sweat looked like, XD, if not, correct me, all over the restaurant. Denki. Yes, but why? Hesitantly Bakugo. We'll easily destroy the place and then we can say that Izuku died because he stayed inside, because clearly we're not going to tell them that we killed him, right? Denki. Now I understand. They then left the restaurant, not before Bakugo made an explosion in the entrance ticket rental. Followed by other explosions. The firefighters and heroes would arrive only to find the main animatronics but not where Izuku was. After a year of what happened, Izuku would be presumed dead when they could not find him. Some would mourn his death, including A.M., who said that he could not protect his successor. Inko would be depressed and would think about committing suicide, but she would not do it since Eri was also there, who was now when she needed her. The pussycats would cry upon receiving the news, but Kota was devastated since his hero, his role model, died. After they graduate, we do a time skip of 4 years 2 months before what we see in the beginning. In those 4 years, Classa became heroes and some reached the top of Japan. Some would have a relationship, get married, things like that. Kota and Eri would start training to be great heroes and honor the memory of the hero Deku, but this does not matter now. We go where the destroyed pizzeria was now just a dirt field. You could see a metallic hand come out of the ground that then puts force so that later you can see Izuku in the rabbit suit. Izuku. What happened? Wasn't he dead? He said, opening and closing his hand to see what he felt. He didn't feel anything. Izuku. This will be my chance to get revenge on the wretches, he said, seeing what hatred there was in their eyes. Izuku. I wonder if I still have the OFA asterisk, he said, so that he would activate it and dark green rays would come out asterisk. Hehe, I wonder now how I will get out of here without being scared by this suit asterisk, he said, thinking, but I did not know. He would notice that suddenly a yellow light covered him and now you could see if the suit asterisk now calm. He did not finish since he could feel how he moved parts of his body asterisk. To see his hand that was normal was impressed. To then grab a broken mirror was there and you can see that it was if the suit asterisk. How strange, I only thought about taking off the suit and now it is not there, and if I think about having it, he said, so that then the same light covered him asterisk. Ha ha, JJ ajajajaj, he would laugh like crazy. It's time for my revenge asterisk, he said, to disappear into the shadows. Off screen, everyone would be terrified by what they did to him without remorse and because the arrogant ones thought he deserved it. Villains. Wow said so everyone could see them. Villains. What? We are villains, but some of us have limits. He said this to surprise some. Asterisk. Inko. Because my son, she said with tears of sadness for her son being comforted by Mitsuki, and Izuku would get up from her seat going straight to her mother to hug her. Izuku. Don't worry, I'm here, he said with a smile. Me. Very nice and everything, but it's time to continue. Having said that, some would look at me badly for ruining the moment and I wouldn't give a damn while I looked at the screen again. Back to the screen. Izuku. Let's see, who do I go for first? He asked himself with doubt, and if I go for Mineta and Denki, from what I know they always meet, it's Denki's agency. Izuku was investigating everything that day, that's why he knows that, but how do I get into the agency? He said thoughtfully, I already know how to do it, with a sadistic smile. Afterwards, Izuku waits for the day of the meeting of the two perverts. Izuku would see how Mineta would enter Denki's agency and how scared women would come out, which surprises Izuku. Izuku would look out a window to see what was happening and was impressed since there were women gagged and tied up. Off screen, women would be disgusted and a little afraid. Denki. Ha 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 ha, that's what I deserve, he said with a lascivious face. Me. Now I'm tired. I stand in front of him and put my palm in front of his face asterisk. Hakai, and Denki spaced himself into purple particles while screaming. What did he do to you? Getting into a fighting stance. Me. Make him disappear in body and soul. Now he no longer exists and no one can bring him back to life, I said simply, and terrifying some and relieving women. Why did you do that? Didn't you see on the screen that he could have been a hero? Angrily. Me. Seriously, you didn't see his attitude in the screen. I'm telling you that he did the Denki on the screen, because he raped, gave information to the villains, killed women just because they were pregnant, and the list goes on, I said simply, and some were terrified. Stain was happy because one less false hero in AM. Asterisk. He had redemption, he said, thinking he was still right, but he gets hit with a blow from GT. Asterisk. GT. Shut up, AM. You can't say anything and you know very well that he was beyond saving. You didn't see what he would have done and yet you still don't understand. He said, disappointed in AM. Asterisk. But. GT. But nothing. Nana would be disappointed in you, he said with clear description. Me. And why don't you ask her, I said, so they would look at me strangely, and then snapped my fingers and Nana appears. Nana. Where am I? I was in the core of the 9th, she said without knowing what was happening. Next I will explain everything we have seen up to now. Nana. Toshi, you disappoint me very badly, and worse, you are not worthy of your actions, with clear disappointment at the actions of his successor.
M would bow his head because he knew he had done wrong by his actions, but he didn't want to accept it until now. Me. Let's continue. And Nana, the mentioned one, sees me. He is the ninth, I said, to point out Izuku, who was alone since his girlfriends hadn't finished talking yet. Nana thought. He's cute. What do you think, Nana? He's younger than you, but he's cute, she thought, like a schoolgirl in love, and then sat next to him and started talking about OFA without anyone hearing. Me. Well, it's time to continue. Back to the screen. Izuku, without thinking, goes into the agency to save the women. When he arrives, the women would see him with fear. Girl, please don't do anything to us, she said with tears coming out of her eyes. Izuku. Don't worry, I came to save you, he said, and then removed the gag that some of them had and released them from their chains. Girls. Thank you, they said with tears that they would be free, and when Ivan was about to leave, the two perverts appeared. Mineta. Where do you beauties go? He said with a perverted face. Denki. You guys aren't leaving until we make you ours, same as Mineta. Izuku now hooded. Girls, go and don't look back, I'll take care of it, he said to see how the girls ran away. Denki. Bastard, you know what it costs to kidnap bitches, you'll pay, he said to throw 3 million volts at him, but it doesn't do anything. How impossible, he said, stepping back scared shitless. Mineta. I'll take care of it, he said to throw his purple balls from his head. Ha ha ha, now what will you do, with an arrogant smile. Izuku without any difficulty took off his balls and began to walk towards them. Mineta. Come on, go away, you're a monster, he said, stepping back just like Denki. Denki. It's all or nothing, I have to use all 18 million volts because of the amount. Steam came out of Izuku's body, clouding both of their vision. Haha, you're just another piece of trash, with an arrogant smile. But from the smoke a metallic hand grabbed Denki's head and with its force made his head explode. Mineta would be crying and a brown stain could be seen on his suit diaper. Mineta. Please don't do anything to me, I can give you whatever you want, money, women, whatever you want, but don't do anything to me, he said with fear. Izuku animatronic mode. For your sins, Mineta, you deserve death, he said, and then took off his hood and the animatronic that he hadn't seen for many years. Mineta. It's not possible, why you're dead, he said with fear. Animatronic Izuku. I thought about it too, but come back for my revenge, I say, then open his head and see his face, which was just skin, then grab him and bring Mineta's head to his mouth. Mineta. No, please, please. I didn't finish because Izuku broke his head with a bite. Izuku. Here begins my revenge, he said to throw the body to the floor and leave the agency, disappearing into the darkness. Off screen. Everyone was horrified by the bloody scene they witnessed. The weak-minded couldn't stop vomiting and the false heroes kept saying that he was just another villain. You disappoint me, Midoriya Shonen, he said as if it were nothing. Izuku. Shut up, pufferfish, you're the last one to speak when you wanted to kill AFO because of your teacher, he said, counter-attacking. Nana. Is that true? She said, looking at GT, who nodded. You disappoint me even more, she said, touching her forehead. M was more depressed since it was true. Me. Shut up and let us see how good the universe is, I said while eating popcorn, or however the era is written, that I can see you in the comments saying I know how to doves XD. Back to the screen. After a week of investigating, Izuku's ex-friends would meet at a party celebrating their 4th anniversary of graduating from UA, and some will say why they are not alert since they killed Denki and Mineta, because Izuku is not stupid and he withdrew from the evidence so that they do not suspect. The day of the party would arrive. Izuku would cover himself with a hood so that they would not see his face since he was supposedly dead. Upon arriving, the first thing he would do would be to see who his next victim was. He would see Lita and Uraraka go to the bathrooms, and when he saw that, he smiled. When they got to the bathroom, the two filthy guys started doing their dirty deeds XD. They wouldn't realize that behind them was Izuku, who quickly, without giving them time to notice, went through the two of them, and before dying they looked at him. But they only saw a smile since his face was still obscured by the hood. Izuku. 2 dead, 16 left, he said, then taking his arm out of the way of the two of them to see their bodies fall lifeless. Shit, I have to clean up. He then hid the bodies in a bathroom and cleaned the blood. Well, now what? He didn't finish since Sato and Aoyama would enter the bathroom. Sato. Before finishing, his head fell to the ground and followed by his body. Aoyama. Sato, what happened? Said without donating that he had died already. Sato was behind him. Sato. He said and then turned around and saw the hooded man behind Sato's body without a head. Huh. Who are you? He said with fear. Izuku. I am what you created, he said, so that he would then split Aoyama in half. More shit to clean, he said, to leave the bodies in the same bathroom and clean the blood. Well, there are 14 left, he said, to leave the bathrooms. Upon leaving the bathroom, Izuku would see Kota at the entrance door next to Ojiro. He would approach both of them and first break Kota's neck 360 degrees without Ojiro noticing. Ojiro. Jose, don't you think it's strange that Mineta and Denki didn't come? He asked without realizing Kota. He would ask to see a Kota with his eyes closed standing like a statue without noticing his neck. Kota, I know you don't like to talk much, but we're friends, he said, to touch him and see how Kota's body fell to the ground lifeless, and there he noticed his neck. Kota. He said, terrified with fear, and then quickly turned his head but was pierced by a hand. Izuku. Another 2 less. How boring, I thought they would put up more of a fight. At least a scratch, but that would be waiting too long, he said while smiling and then seeing a Kyoka who was in shock at what happened. Kyoka. Ah, she didn't finish screaming because her throat was cut by Izuku. Izuku. This was sooner than I thought, he said, to quickly take the bodies behind some bushes that were there. Everyone at the party would go to see what caused the scream, and they only saw some blood stains. Some would be scared by that. Bakugo. What the hell happened here? He asked, so everyone had the same doubts. Izuku. There's no other option, he said, to get out of the bushes. Hello, he said with a sadistic smile. Everyone. Who are you in fighting pose? Izuku. His good friend Miguel XD. Take 2. Izuku. One dies and no one remembers him anymore, he said, taking off his hood so everyone would be shocked for thinking he was dead. Bakugo. Impossible, you're dead, he said with a little fear. Izuku. I thought that too, but things change, he said, so that in a quick movement he would crush Shoji's head like making a paper ball. XD. Everyone would be terrified, but with a little courage everyone would attack, but that would be their biggest mistake. Izuku killed them as if it were the easiest thing in the world, and now we are back where we started. Fin flashback. Izuku. I thought they would give me a fight, but it was another disappointment, he said, and then stood in front of Bakugo. What happened, Kachan? Are you scared? He said in a calm tone, giving Bakugo chills. Bakugo. Why, you're a monster, he said with fear apparently. Izuku. I am the monster that you created, he said, to tear off his arms and put them in his ass, giving a horrible scene if you imagine it, but hilarious at the same time. XD. Izuku. Now what will I do? I didn't think about what to do after getting revenge, he said with doubt. I'll think about it later, he said to Tell, leaving behind the massacre he did. The screen turns off. Everyone was horrified by the scenes of how Izuku killed. Some vomited. The fake heroes thought about how to put Izuku in jail to gain fame. Class A was scared and shocked by his death. AFO was proud since his son made his first kill, and Atoga rubbed his thighs. XD. Me. Well, since you are like that, go to your rooms since you look bad, I said, looking at those who were looking and the traumatized ones. Well, Izuku, you will have to talk to your girls now, I said, and then snapped my fingers and he disappeared. Well, go to your rooms since tomorrow we will see a more childish and funny universe, I think, with doubt about what they would see tomorrow, and so everyone left and then I went to my room. Izuku's room. Izuku. What happened, girls? He asked with doubt since he saw his girlfriends with a nervous Pixie Bob. Brides. Well, we talked about it in Pixie Bob. Izuku, do you want my boyfriend? She asked nervously and a little sadly, thinking he wouldn't accept her because of her age. Izuku. Well, if my girlfriends accept it, we can try it, blushing at what Pixie Bob said. Following this, Pixie Bob would jump up to hug and kiss him and shed a few tears of happiness. The next day, after everything that happened yesterday, I got up first. Me. How nice to sleep, I said, surprised since my dogs woke me up. Their fucking mother forgot about my dogs and the children, I said, to quickly make them appear and see them asleep and with a lot of dirt on their clothes. But what the hell happened to them? I'll see about that later, I said, to snap my fingers and clean them. Now to the movie theater, I said, to go and take them and leave them in their seats. Well, to wake him up. Me on the speakers. Well, you are asked to come to the movie theater, you sons of bitches. I won't repeat it twice, so just quickly. V. Everyone would break into a sweat and go to the movie theater. Me. Well, like I said yesterday, we'll see comedy, but it's not a universe. I said it to surprise them. This is what Izuku does when he's alone or goes out without anyone noticing. I said it to make Izuku nervous. Izuku. I don't think it's a good idea to see that, he said nervously, being hugged by his girlfriends, and what would surprise everyone would be to see Pixie Bob too. Aizawa with glasses and UN cap. Pixie Bob lady arrested for pedophile, said to throw her on the floor. Izuku. Sensei, leave it with me, girlfriend, he said, a little embarrassed. All. Brides. What? They said, surprised. Inko. I didn't know you liked mature women, she said with a mischievous look at her son. Izuku. He would blush because of what his mother said. AFO thought. He looks like me at that age, ha 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 ha, thought proudly. Aizawa. Okay fine, he said to leave Pixie Bob, but don't overdo it, he said while returning to his seat. Me. Well, it's time to see what Izuku does to pass the time, I said so everyone would pay attention to the screen. The screen turns on. Izuku is seen in the dormitory common room. Class A. Izuku, we're going to the mall. Don't you want to join us? They said doubtfully. Bakugo. A piece of shit, Deku isn't going to join us, he said, and then left, followed by some. Izuku. It's not okay, I'm staying, he said calmly. Class A. Okay, they said, and then left. After everyone left, Izuku would leave Ua towards his house and enter. Izuku. Mom. Screams throughout his house to not receive an answer. This is my chance, he said, and then goes to the garage and goes to a corner and then presses a button and the floor opens up to let out a motorcycle. Take the Tron motorcycles as a reference, but in green. Off screen. All. What? Inko. But what? Melissa. Seriously, you have that and you didn't tell us, the two inventors said with a death aura. Why didn't their boyfriend tell them he was an inventor? Izuku. They didn't ask, he said nervously, because of the aura. Melissa. You're also right, they said more calmly, but you have to show us that motorcycle when we get back, they said with little stars. Izuku. It's okay, he said calmer, being hugged by his girlfriends. Me. Keep watching and don't interrupt. Back to the screen. Now we see Izuku being on the motorcycle while he was heading to a forest that had a very disastrous climate since the trees moved abruptly through the air and the rain made large puddles. Izuku would go deeper and would see two boys who were putting together a trampoline. Izuku. Alex, Steve, how long have you been friends? He said to approach them. Alex. Izuku, you're just in time to do that, and besides, why did you want the trampoline? He said with doubt. Steve. That's not the question is why we are at this point today while we get completely wet, he said, a little irritated since he was soaked with water. Izuku. Easy, this weather is perfect to do what I want to do to you, the trampoline I always wanted to jump on. 1 said with a chibi face. But no one would notice the trampoline was moving in the wind until Steve turns around and sees it moving. Steve. Guys, the trampoline is moving, he said, pointing at it while it moved a little more. Alex. Izuku, run before he leaves, they're not cheap. He said because he spent money on that. Izuku. Okay, he said, so he would jump and stay on top, but the wind was so strong that it would make the trampoline fly with Izuku inside. Guys, help. He screamed in fear since he was flying away. The boys would run to try to catch the trampoline, giving a comical scene. The screen turns off. Everyone was laughing at what happened to Izuku. All. JSAJAJAJBJB. Izuku. It's not fun at the finals. The trampoline broke because he hit a tree, he said with a depressive aura because he couldn't jump on the trampoline, being comforted by his girlfriends. Me. Well, let's see the next one. The screen turns on. The three friends would be seen in a cafe. Alex. Steve, I dare you to flirt with the waitress, and if you do, I'll give you $1,000, he said, taking out a wad of bills. Steve. Done, he said to approach the waitress. Hello, her. He didn't finish because the waitress interrupted him. Waitress. Sorry, I have a boyfriend, she said to walk away. Alex. Ha 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 ha, he said, laughing his head off at what happened to Steve. Steve. It's not funny, he said with a depressive aura, but Alex kept laughing. Let's see if you laugh so much, why don't you try, he said, seeing Alex, who stopped laughing. Alex. Okay, look and learn, he said to approach the same waitress. Hello, cutie M. He didn't finish because the waitress interrupted him. Waitress. I'm sorry but my shift is over, she said, going to serve another table XD. Alex would return with a depressive aura at the laughter of Izuku, who was now laughing, and Steve. Alex. Shut up, I reject you too, he said, so that the two of them went into sad mode and Izuku continued laughing, but now at both of them. Alex. Steve. Let's see if you laugh that much. Try it, they said, irritated and with a smile since they thought he would do worse. Izuku. Okay, but if you give me your number I want you both to do something for me, he said with a smile that didn't say anything good. Alex. Steve. It's okay, they said, since they didn't think he would make it. Izuku would stand up and walk over to the waitress. Izuku. Hello, can I ask you something? Waitress. Quick question, she said, a little irritated since everyone always only told her compliments. Izuku. Is this heaven? Waitress. Why do you ask? She asked doubtfully. Izuku. I have an angel in front of me, he said with a smile. The waitress would blush and Izuku would start a conversation, so that after a while of talking he would return to the table with his friends who were with their mouths open. Izuku. I'm back, he said with a smile. Alex. You didn't make it, he said, smiling. Izuku. Why do you say that? He asked doubtfully. Steve. You didn't bring the number, he said to smile. Izuku. Ah, you're talking about this, he said as he took out a piece of paper from his pocket with numbers, a name and a kiss that was noticeable because of the lipstick. Izuku's two friends would be shocked. Izuku. Ha 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 ha, it seems I won, he said with a smile. Steve. You're right, he said with a depressive aura. Izuku. Best of all, you owe me a favor, making a smile that would scare his friends a little since they knew it meant danger for them. Steve. Alex. No. Izuku. Yes. Steve. Alex. No, please, they said, begging, knowing what favors he would make them do. Izuku. Oh yeah, and I'm going to enjoy this like you have no idea. He said, then grabbed them by the arms and took them somewhere. Asterisk. The screen turns off. Everyone laughed at what was happening to Izuku's friends. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, if I were I didn't finish because he was knocked out because Mitsuki got a sniff. Mitsuki. Saw the ortho homunculus, she said, already irritated. Me. Well, wait while I look for the next universe, I said, to see how some villains played one like Aizawa and Tamaki arrest Shizaki for lolicon, Eri sitting on Pixie Bob's legs and the heroes talking about what to do when they return. Me. Well, today we will see a universe called Among Us, I said, so that some would doubt because of the title, and before you ask, some students are on a mission in space to go to another planet for research, but there are two imposters who want to devour everyone, I said, so that some would be terrified. Well, any questions? Izuku. Is this universe for children? He asked doubtfully about the protection of his now offspring, to which a mother caterpillar was proud. Me. If the scenes only look like they were shot animatedly, nothing that could traumatize you, I said, normal. Izuku. Okay. Me. Okay, let's start. The screen turns on. Momo, Kami, Shoto, Izuku, Monoma, Tetsu, Kirishima, and Kota could be seen in a room in front of a circular table with a button in the center. Shoto. Well, you know what to do, right? The others. Yes, to do missions, they said in a military pose. Shoto. Okay, go in groups of 2, he said, so they can make their groups. Los grupos serían Shoto, Momo, Izuku, Kami, Kirishima, Tetsu y Monoma, Kota hujus se irían por diferentes partes. With Izuku and Kami. Izuku. Kami. I don't want to do this, I feel bad, I grabbed them, darling, he said sadly since he had to kill them. Kami. Calm down, my Izukito, we can infect Kota and have him stay with us, she said calmly. Izuku. That's enough for me, he said, motivated. Izuku. Well, he turned off the lights. He said to turn off the lights and then left, leaving Kami on camera. Asterisk. With Kirishima and Tetsu. Tetsu. Kiri bro, where are you? I can't see you, he said since the lights had gone out. Kirishima. I don't see you either, but we have to go fix the light, he said to leave. Tetsu. Okay, said to leave too, but stopped falling since he couldn't see anything. With Shoto and Momo. Shoto. Momo, where are you? Wouldn't receive an answer. Momo. He asked so that later he could see only Momo's legs and how some bones were sticking out. It can't be, he said, and then reported the death and that everyone should gather in the central room. Izuku. Where? Shoto. I was there in admin when the lights went out and Momo wasn't responding, and then I looked for her and saw her corpse on the floor, he said with fear. Kami. Well, Izuku and I can't be. We were on camera but we didn't see anyone enter admin. She said, pretending that she saw Izuku enter and kill Momo. Kota. Well, Monoma and I can't be since we were talking all the way to the lights so we don't get lost. Kirishima. Tetsu bro and I can't since when you reported we had just finished talking to go to the electricity department to repair the lights. Shoto. So who fruit was it? Izuku. You could have been and reported to create distrust between us, but I would say skip it. Monoma. I think that's fair, and so everyone skipped with some suspicions of Shoto. With Izuku and Kami. Izuku. I didn't think it would work. Kami. Of course you have to trust yourself more, she said, hugging him. Izuku. Well, let's go to lights, he said, and then he gets into a sewer followed by Kami. With Kirishima and Tetsu. Well bro, we have to go to electricity, we've already finished our missions here, he said, since they were in navigation. Kirishima. You're right. They said to go to electricity and see Monoma's body on the ground. Kirishima. No Monoma because him. Tetsu. Calm down, we have to report, he said. Why will he report? Everyone had already gathered. Kota. No, Monoma told me he would go towards electricity. Kirishima. And where were you? Kota. I stayed in reactor because I was taking too long, and Simon says, and he told me he would go ahead to electricity. Izuku. Kami and I were in the medical center doing the tube mission. Tetsu. Why doesn't Shoto talk? He said to look to the sides but they couldn't find him. Kirishima. How strange it is not here, he said, but he didn't realize Kami was approaching from behind with a knife, just like Izuku but with Tetsu. Izuku. Kami. We're sorry, but we have no choice, they said, then killed them before Kota's terrified gaze. Kota. Please don't do anything to me, he said with some tears. Izuku. Calm down Kota, I would never hurt you, he said to hug him and then put something that went into his ear. Kota. What have you done to me? He said, thinking he would die. Izuku. Kota, I would never hurt you, that's why I made you one of us, he said while being hugged by Kami, and he extends his hand. Kota, would you like to join this family, he said with a smile. Kota wouldn't know what to say. The one who raised him was an imposter, but he didn't want to hurt him but rather to have him join him. Kota. Yes, said to hug him. Dano, a scene of a family. The screen turns off. The villains laugh at Tetsu's falls, the fake heroes thinking they'll get famous by locking up Izuku. The pussycats are moved by the last scene. Being Pixie Bob that Enyu are rubbing their breasts just like the broccoli mini harem, and well, Kota was with a smile that his hero would never hurt him. Me. Well, did you like it? Everyone. It's okay, it wasn't bad, I've seen better ones. The last one gives me a depressive aura. Izuku. A question, he said so he would look at him because Kami and I said he had no choice, I said with doubt, making everyone have the same question. Me. If you don't do it, you will die, since your God who sees everything can kill you with his thoughts, making some people surprised. But anyway, changing the subject. A question for kids, I said, so the kids would pay attention to me. How do you think Izuku would be as a teacher? Children. Funny, gracious, patient, said in unison. Me. Sorry to burst your bubble, but Izuku as a teacher is the complete opposite of what they said, which then sent chills down Mitsuki and Rei's spine. Mitsuki, Rei. Is she the same as her? They said, pointing at Inko, who was happy that her son was following in her footsteps, and Nezu turning around to see Midoriya's mother would look familiar. AFO thought. Damn, if she's the same as her, she's scary because she wasn't strict, she was worse, she was scary, but I still fell in love with her. Hee, what good times, he thought with a sad smile. Me speaking to him via telepathy. Calm down now, I'll help you after the next one, I said so that AFO would smile, but not with malice but with sincerity, which is why those who saw it were surprised. Me. Well, this universe is titled. Me. Well, this universe is called. The Teacher Bakugo and some people. Ha 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 ha, the useless, shitty nerd who fell so low to be a teacher while laughing. Aizawa.
Let's see, shut up and Bakugo is punished, he said, activating his quirk because he was offended just like all the teachers who were there XD*. Izuku. Why am I a teacher? Me. Well, here you were born in the Aizawa era and so you were a teacher since you didn't want to be a hero and because you didn't have money, I said with a chibi face. Me. Well, I don't think the kids will like this Izuku because he is very strict, much more than Aizawa, I said, so everyone would be scared because Aizawa was the strictest of the teachers. Well, let's start. The screen turns on, you can see Bakugo, Lita and Kirishima running with a face of terror. Bakugo. You have to run and pray that one doesn't reach the classroom running without looking back. Kirishima. This is your fault if you hadn't convinced us to stay up playing video games running. Lita. I'm in trouble, she said without her typical arm movement since she was running. They would arrive at their classroom and when they opened the door they would see their classmates sitting and they looked and the teacher was not there. Bakugo. Peef, how lucky, he said but felt a touch on his shoulder. So you arrived late, tell me the three of you, he said, so the three of you would follow him, then he stopped in a hallway. Well, why did they take so long? While playing with a piece of chalk, passing it through his fingers. Bakugo. What the hell are you doing? I didn't finish because the stranger threw the chalk at his head, giving him a bruise, and the chalk would come back to him. Apparently you don't learn, he said, and then he threw the chalk at the wall so that it would bounce towards Bakugo's joints, who was screaming in pain. Well, Kirishima, why did you arrive late? Kirishima. Pro teacher Izuku. It's just that Bakugo convinced us to stay up late playing, he said in fear when he saw his friend on the ground while he writhed in pain. Izuku would turn his head to look at Lita. Izuku. I expected it from everyone but you, Lita said, shaking his head. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds to run. Izuku. 10. Said to see how they fell. 9. Now they were getting up. 8. It would be seen as they were already running. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. They were seen almost about to leave the hallway. 1, he said, and then threw the chalk at the wall that went to Kirishima and Lita. When they were about to leave the hallway the chalk hit them in the joints of their legs so they fall, and then the chalk would hit them in the joints of their arms so that later it would return to Izuku's hand. Izuku. I hope you've learned your lesson. I'll wait for you at the gym. But since I'm good, go with RG so you can do better, he said, heading to the living room. Kirishima. This is the worst. Now I know what Denki feels every day he arrives late, she said with difficulty, getting up slowly and going with Lita on her back to the infirmary, leaving a dying Bakugo. Off-screen everyone was surprised by the teacher's attitude, but those who were studying were afraid because they saw how strict he was. Aizawa. Why do you do that to the students, he said with a little anger. Kendo. You're right, that could be called child abuse. Me. Well, as you said, Aizawa. UA is characterized by the freedom of the teachers. They have to teach and that is their way, because if you see the difference between yours and his, they are more responsible, more educated, more patient. I tell you more, that's it, I said to see even Aizawa with a depressing aura, since it was true his students were better than his. Well, we have to keep watching. The screen turns on. After what happened in the hallway, Izuku would return to his classroom to tell his class that they have to go to the gym for their training. At the gym, the entire class A would be seen except for Bakugo. Izuku. Falta Bakugo. At that moment Bakugo arrives crawling on the floor. Bakugo. Damn, they left me stranded by the shitty teacher, he said without noticing Izuku. He doesn't even come. Suddenly he's regretting leaving me like that, he said arrogantly, but an aura of death was felt at his side. Izuku. So I regret, no, he said, to which Bakugo was indescribably scared but his pride was stronger. Bakugo. Apart from being a shitty teacher, he's deaf, he said with fear. Izuku. Well, here we are, he said to grab Bakugo by the neck and throw him to the center of the gym. Well, this is so that they learn the consequences that can cause the lack of respect, he said to throw his chalk at the wall, which would begin to bounce against the walls at a surprising speed and then bounce off Bakugo's entire body, who would be screaming in pain. Izuku. Well, see that, he said pointing at Bakugo, that can hurt their pride, he said to grab the chalk that was heading for his head. Well, Bakugo, I hope you learn, he said, and then turned to a bloody Bakugo. Now, make a line to go to the classroom because I have a surprise for you, he said, so that class A makes a line and then follows Izuku to the classroom, leaving a Bakugo covered in blood. In the living room, Izuku. Well, since I'm a good person, you're all stressed out about classes, so let's go to the beach, I said, so some got excited. Well,
Go get ready and I'll wait for you here in 30 minutes, he said so everyone could get up from their seats and leave in an orderly manner. Now I know what it feels like to protect people. Mom said to grab a picture of her mother with the one on the desk. The screen turns off. Everyone was amazed and terrified by his teaching style, and a snipe was depressed by his aim. Izuku. What happened to my mom? He asked worriedly and being hugged by his girlfriends. Me? Well, your mother died naturally, due to her age, I said as if it were nothing. Inko was a little in shock. AFO was a little sad, but it didn't show, and Izuku was grateful that his mom is still with him. Me? Well, now we'll see why Izuku is like that as a teacher. That runs in the family, I said so everyone would pay attention. Nezu was wondering where he had seen Inko and AFO, Rei and Mitsuki tense from remembering their youth. The screen turns on. You could see Rei, Mitsuki and Hiyashi AFO without mask, who were nervous and asked why the director had summoned them to the office. Mitsuki. Now that's all over, she said nervously. Rei. Suddenly it's because we arrived late in. Hiyashi. Why are you carrying those flowers? Asked with doubt. Hiyashi. It's to save me, he said with a slightly noticeable blush since he would see the director. Mitsuki. It's not that, she said with a mischievous look. Rei. Shut up already, she said since they were outside the principal's door. There was a knock on the door. Knock knock, effects like those on Netflix XD. Can you come in, he said, and then Hiyashi, Mitsuki and Rei come in. Rei. Director, why did she call us? She said, seeing if I nod since I was standing with my back turned and looking out the window. Let's see why they arrived late. Mitsuki. It's good that I ran away to go with Masaru, she said nervously. Inko. So you're still running away, she said while you could see a hand that was with an eraser that passed between her fingers. I know we're friends, but responsibility is very important, she said to stop playing with the eraser and throw it at a wall so that it would then go to the joints of the arms and return to the director's hand. Well, as punishment you're going to walk 10 times around the whole school, she said, making Mitsuki pale. Mitsuki. Oh okay, said to leave the school with pain in her arms and start running. The unknown woman would spin around in her chair revealing Inko. Inko. Let's see Rei, why did you arrive late? Rei. Todoroki wouldn't let me go to my classroom, she said nervously and a little angry since Enji never left her alone. Inko. Okay, you're saved. Go back to your classroom. I'll talk to Enji later, she said while playing with the eraser. Rei. It's okay, director, and thank you, she said as she retreated to her classroom. Inko. Aver. Hiyashi. And you now what? Hiyashi. I went to buy this for her, he said taking some roses from his back. Inko would blush at the gesture. Inko. Okay, now go back to your classroom, she said receiving the roses. Hiyashi. Okay, see you in. Inko said blushing. Hiyashi would leave the address to see outside a sweat-soaked and panting Mitsuki and Rei leaning against a wall. Rei. Well, you already declared your love to him, she said with a mischievous look. Hiyashi. I didn't just give her the flowers, he said, and then remembered that he left something in the flowers. I shouldn't go back, he said to return to the address. Upon entering the office, I would receive an eraser all over my face. Inko. Pervert, said to see an embarrassed Inko while kicking an unconscious Hiyashi. The screen turns off. Nezu. I already remembered you were the one who won the award for Best Director. Apart from being the previous director of the UA, she said so that some would be surprised and Inko would be embarrassed. Izuku. Is that true, Mom? He asked in surprise. Inko. Why yes, and the reason I haven't told you is because you never asked, she said nervously at first and then as if nothing had happened. Everyone would break into a sweat. Mitsuki. I still remember how Hiyashi was like a mummy that day, ha ha ha, good times. AFO thought. Yes, good times, said with a smile. Rei. Yes, although it bothers me to remember Enji, she said with her head down for everything he has done to her, being comforted by her family except Fuyumi who was with Izuku. Bakugo. Since Aunt Inko was like that, if I saw her defenseless. He didn't finish because he felt like something hard was hitting him on parts of his body and then he screamed in pain. Ah. What the? He didn't finish because what was hitting him would hit him in the throat, leaving him speechless, and then he saw that it was an eraser that would return to Inko's hand. Inko. Shut up, she said with an aura of death which would terrify everyone. Bakugo wouldn't respond because of the pain he felt. Me. Well, now we'll see what Izuku taught the children, he said to see the children. Mandalay. What did I teach them? Out of concern for what I taught them. Me. Children, what did Izuku give you on Children's Day? Children. These cards and taught us tricks, they said in unison. Koda. Yes, I still practice how to throw cards, he said, throwing a card but it would fly away. Yes, I still need practice. Katsuma. I already managed to make them stick in, but my aim is bad, he said, to throw a card that would be directed at Bakugo, who would give a cry of pain because of it. Eri. Amy taught me how to draw cards out of nowhere, she said, to draw a card from her hand asterisk. Mahoro. And Amy to make card houses, said, to see how she made a card mansion. Everyone was surprised by what Izuku taught them, and he was nervous and scared seeing how Mandalay and his mother saw him. Inko, Shino. I'm going to name her after him since Mandalay is boring since it's longer XD. How do you teach that to kids? They said to throw themselves at it, but a perfect cube wouldn't let them. Me. Well, leave the poor broccoli alone since his girlfriends are already beating him up. He said to see how his girlfriends beat up a dying Izuku. Well, I snap my fingers and Izuku is healed but with a traumatized face. Me. Well, we'll see how Izuku turns some normal cards into lethal weapons, I said, to see how some would be surprised and some inventors would be with notebooks, and it's not an invention, it's just normal cards, I said, so that everyone would be surprised and terrified since he turned cards into weapons. The screen turns on. Alex, Steve and Izuku can be seen in a mansion. Alex. I still wonder how he does that with just a few cards, watching Izuku throwing some cards at targets and the cards going through him. Steve. It's a mystery, we'll never know, he said, giving a touch of mystery. Alex. Izuku. The aforementioned turned to look at him. How do you do that with the cards? He said with doubt. Izuku. A lot of practice, he said, with glasses. Too much practice, he said, with other glasses on top of the ones he had. Steve. But how did you learn to do that? He said doubtfully. Izuku. Well, he said to remember how he learned to do that. Flashback, and Izuku was seen sitting sad since it was his birthday, and as always no one was going to even greet him, but that birthday he would receive the first gift from his father with a note. Note. Hello son, I'm sorry for not being with you these years, but I can't since my job is very dangerous and I don't want to put you in danger, but I was able to send you these. They are some letters that I had and that are special to me since my father gave them to me, and now I give them to you. ATTE. Hiyashi Midoriya. Izuku would shed a few tears since he thought that his father abandoned him for being Kieckles, and now he knew that it was not like that. The next day he would start doing tricks like making the cards appear out of nowhere, making surprising structures with the cards, but he would get bored and would be in his bed looking at the ceiling while playing with a card between his fingers, until he got tired and threw it, but he would realize that he nailed it to the wall. He tried again, but now the card would bend, and from there he would practice how to make a common card into a weapon and improve his aim. Fin flashback. Off screen, Izuku was in tears as he remembered that day being comforted by his girlfriends, and AFO, who was a little happy that his son liked his gift and sad why he couldn't spend time with him. Inside the screen, Izuku. And that's how I learned to do these tricks, he said while wiping away a tear. Steve. Wow, I thought I was going to do it in a weirder way because normally your life is weird, he said with a little grace. Alex. It's true, I was also expecting something more epic, he said with disappointment. Izuku. Well, I can do this too, he said, to throw the card at the wall so that it bounces and hits a target in the center. Steve. I am impossible, he said with clear surprise. Alex. That's physically impossible, he said with his eyes wide open. Izuku. The impossible for me is possible, he said with black glasses. The screen turns off. Everyone would be surprised by what Izuku did since it was impossible to do that. David. That defies all the laws of physics, he said with wide eyes like everyone else. The kids would have stars in their eyes seeing that and would want to improve themselves to be like their hero. Fake heroes. We have to catch him, he's a threat, they said, to throw themselves at him, but a perfect cube would stop them. Me. Let's see, I said while touching my forehead. Why is it a threat? I asked with doubt. False heroes. Only villains do that, they said, thinking they would agree and annoying the villains. Me. Very bad, they're very bad because people like you create people like them, I said, pointing at the villain. Why do you say that? He said with doubt since he also thought the fake heroes were right.
Izuku. Well, it's easy for villains to be created by people like them. Mirko. Sorry, but villains are villains. Izuku. Relatively no, before being villains they were people, but discrimination due to their quirk or for being different led them to that. But there are also villains who do it out of necessity since they do not have money for their families, he said, analytically surprising everyone, and the villains were happy that a hero understood them. Lita. Ha 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 ha, the villains are nothing but scum, she said arrogantly with an arrogant smile. Mirko. It's true, villains only deserve jail. Sorry Midoriya Shonen, but you were right. Izuku. Let's see who thinks I'm right. Raise your hand, I said just to see Aizawa, Shoto, Kirishima, some girls from Class A, some from Class B, Midnight, Nagant, Hawks, and Endeavor. How ugly that they think like that. That only makes them false heroes, he said, making Stain proud, and then left with the villains and started playing one with Twice, Mr. Sanitary Pads, Dobby and Stain. Everyone was surprised by his actions, but those who believed the same as Izuku would start talking to some villains, realizing that Izuku was right with what he said, and the false heroes were upset and their girlfriends a little sad since they did not agree with their boyfriend. Me? Well, that's it for today, I said, so everyone could go to their rooms. Villains happy since finally some heroes understood them, fake heroes annoyed, and some girlfriends chasing a green-haired guy. In the green-haired boy's room, you can see Izuku sitting on his bed and in front of his girlfriends. Girlfriends. Izuku, we're sorry, we had to agree with you, they said with some tears that they might lose the boy they love. Izuku. You really disappointed me, he said, so that later his girlfriends would start crying since they thought he would leave them. But, he said, so his girlfriends would calm down a little. I can't get mad at you because I love you. Part of you have no idea how a villain feels and you only go by what you see on TV, so I don't blame you. He said to see his girlfriends calmer and with some tears. Come on, he said, opening his arms so that his girlfriends would hug him without wanting to leave him and then fall asleep. Asterisk. It was already morning and the bnha cast could be seen in the movie theater. Bakugo. The longer it takes, he didn't finish because he received a zap with an explosion from Mitsuki. Mitsuki. Damn, why can't you taste it, she said, kicking her son's body. XD. Everyone wanted to say something but they were afraid of Mitsuki except one. Inko. Mitsuki, stop right now, she said calmly. Mitsuki. TKS, it's okay, but seriously it's the end of my patience, she said, returning to her seat. Now I can be seen coming out of a portal. Me? Well, I know what we'll see today, I said with a smile. Izuku. And what will it be? He asked doubtfully. Me? Let's see the top heroes of a universe where everyone is a friend. Nobody wanted to betray you. Where AM is not a son of a bitch that gives AM a depressive aura and a laugh at the villains. Where the false heroes are real heroes that gives him a vein because according to them they weren't. False. Asterisk. But anyway, we will see the top heroes of that universe and some will surprise you. Everyone would pay attention to the screen because it was if they entered and the arrogant ones said they entered. The screen turns on. Presenter. Good afternoon, people of Japan. Today we are presenting the new top of heroes that has just been updated. We are going to introduce each one. First we are going to start with the top of women, she said, so that a stage would light up. In the top 10 we have MT. Ladies, she said, so that the aforementioned would enter her large form and then shrink and be where it said top 10 asterisk. In the top 9 she was a heroine who later became a villain. Off screen. Mount. Letty was happy. PS he was in the top 10. I don't remember if in the original series he was in the top heroes. How can a villain be a heroine? That's disgusting. That and other fake hero comments. Izuku. Well, he could have reformed and wanted to change, he said it as if it were the simplest thing in the world. But, before saying anything he gets hit in the face by Nana. Nana. Shut up, Toshi. You disappoint me, she said to go with Izuku and put him between her breasts, which would teach her girlfriends and make Izuku blush. Would have his head down. Me. Okay, keep watching. Back to the screen. Presenter. But she reformed to become a heroine again. A big applause for Lady Nagant, she said, so that later a Lady Nagant would come down from the sky doing acrobatics while greeting the public. Off screen. Some were surprised by those who knew her and the false heroines said that she didn't deserve it if they didn't, making Lady Nagant lower her head. Izuku.
Already silence, he said, so that the comments would stop. That is what you believe, but you only seek fame and money, which I think she would never do, he said, giving Nagant a smile which would make her blush. Some wanted to refute that it was not true, but they had no way to defend themselves since it was true. Back to the screen. Presenter. In the top 8 we have the cutest heroine. She is Pinky said, so that a girl who was sliding on her acid while waving would appear. Off screen. Mina. Yes, I managed to get in, she said, jumping while hugging Toru. Inside the screen. In the top 7 a big round of applause for the Yukio Queen said, so that the aforementioned entered the stage in her dragon form and then transformed and greeted. Off screen. Yukio is happy as he remains at the top while receiving some congratulations. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 6, the heroine Battle Fist said, so that one of them could enter the stage while greeting the audience. Off screen. Class B was surprised by this, but others congratulated them since being at the top is a very big achievement. Inside the screen. Reporter. In the top 5 is the heroine Mirko said to see a rabbit while doing acrobatics and then greeted the audience with a normal smile that no one had ever seen. Off screen. Mirko. Ha 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 ha, I knew it, I'm the strongest, she said with an arrogant smile while rubbing it in her teammates' faces that she was at the top. Izuku. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you're the top 5, meaning there are 4 heroines stronger than you, he said to see a Mirko who was stunned and some laughed. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 4 we have the creative heroine, she said, so that a Momo entered the stage with a smile while waving. Off screen. Momo was in shock since she entered the top because according to her she couldn't do anything, but she would get out of shock by receiving congratulations from her companions. But you can see the villains who were getting bored while some played cards that of course Izuku joined them and was winning, but his girlfriends would take him out and beat him up for betting money. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 3 we have the heroine whose voice is her best weapon. Here is Earphone Jack, she said, so Jiro could enter the stage with a smile. Off screen. Some will be surprised because they didn't believe she would get in, but Momo would jump to hug her best friend since she was at the top and she would congratulate her just like her teammates. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 2 we have the heroine that will make you float. Here is Uravati, she said, so that Uraraka could enter from the sky greeting the audience.
Off-screen, Izuku's girlfriends. How the bitch got in, they said, so that Uraraka would get sad since she was reflecting and realizing her mistake. She won't be in the harem, I clarify, and Izuku won't forgive her. Me. Different universes, millions of possibilities and blah blah blah. I already told you in the beginning, I said with boredom. Izuku's girlfriends. It's okay, they said, hugging Izuku who was still nervous. Inside the screen. Presenter. And last but not least, the number 1 heroine, Najire-chan, she said, so that Najire could enter the stage while flying with her quirk, giving a smile that blinded some people due to the innocence that emanated from her. Off-screen. Najire. You see, Mirio, I managed to get into the top and I'm number 1, she said, shaking Mirio who was dizzy while her teacher congratulated her. Inside the screen. Presenter. Well, now we will start with the top men, and finally we have a surprise for you who are watching us, she said, so that the heroines who were on stage would step aside to make way for the top men. Presenter. In the top 10 we have the heroes that will leave you sparking. Make way for the hero chargeable, he said, so that a Denki could enter the stage but with a calmer face without his typical perverted expression. There was no reaction here since he is completely dead XD. Presenter. In the top 9 here is the metal hero giving way to real steel, said to give way to Tetsu who came on stage while he was in his metal form. Off-screen. Tetsu. If I'm at the top, that's for men, he said while bumping fists with Kirishima. Kirishima. You're right, Tetsu bro, said, proud of his lost brother. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 8 we have the hero who can take on your own quirk. Make way for Phantom Thief, said so Monoma could enter the stage. Off-screen. Class B expected him to be bragging since they still didn't believe he would change, but they were surprised that he was just smiling while talking to Izuku. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 7 we have the air hero Vendaval, said so that Inasa can be seen coming down from the sky with his air. Off-screen. I don't remember if I brought Shiketsu XD, so imagine there are some from Shiketsu. V. Inasa. Yes. My effort was worth it, he said with his smile. Kami. I'm happy for you, she said, hugging Izuku who thought he wouldn't be in the top. Some of Shiketsu would be congratulating him. Inside the screen. Presenter. In the top 6 we have the hero who sends you to the dark. Some would laugh at that. Make way for the hero Tsukuyomi, she said, so that later you can see Tokiyami who descended from the sky with the help of dark shadow. Off-screen Tokiyami would be seen with a smile that was not noticeable. Perhaps he did not participate in what would happen to Izuku that we saw in the beginning, and he did not hang out with Izuku, so it is between 50-50, and a blush because Tsuyu congratulated him. But the arrogant ones were getting upset since they didn't appear in the top. Inside the screen presenter. Well, now it's time to introduce the 5 strongest in Japan, who are the top 5 strongest heroes, she said, so that some podiums with numbers appear on the stage. Asterisk. In the top 5 we have the hero Red Riot, she said, so that Akirishima falls to the ground with his hardened form and then greets and places himself on his podium. Off-screen Tetsu. We're in the top, Kiri Bro said with manly tears. Kirishima. Yes. Tetsu Bro said the same as Tetsu, and then they hugged each other so that some of them would get a drop and others would laugh. Inside the screen presenter. In the top 4 we have the hero Hawks, who is still positioned in the top, said, so that a Hawks would descend from the sky. Off-screen Hawks. Patron saw me. I'm still on top, said like a little kid to Endeavor. Endeavor. Yes, Hawks, I saw you, he said, touching his forehead at how his friend was acting. Inside the screen presenter. In the top 3 we have the hero who terrorizes years of villains. Here is Dynamite, said, so that a Bakugo would come down from the sky with his explorations. Off-screen Bakugo. Ha ha ha, take that Deku, I'm in the top 3 and you're not, he said to laugh like the arrogant ones. Izuku would look down at that and be comforted by his girlfriends. Shoto. I don't know if you noticed, but the top 1 and 2 remain, he said, so that Bakugo would be shocked since it was true he wasn't number 1 asterisk. Bakugo. Deku, how dare you surpass me? He didn't finish as he was riddled with an eraser that was thrown by Inko, who had already grown tired of him speaking to her son like that. Inside the screen presenter. In the top 2 we have the son of the previous symbol of peace. Make way for the hero Shoto, said, so that Shoto can be seen entering the stage sliding on ice and then getting into his respective place. Off-screen Endeavor. SHOTOOO. Some already expected them to say that he should be number 1 asterisk cough cough, the custom, he said, so that everyone gets a drop. I say, Shoto, I'm proud that you're in the top of heroes, he said, surprising his family since they thought that the change was a lie, but now they confirmed that it was true. Shoto, upon hearing that, would bring out a smile that no one would see, and Dabi was doubting whether to return or not. Inside the screen presenter. And now the symbol of peace at number 1 in Japan, said, so that drums could be heard. Make way for the hero who will save another million people. He is Lemillion, said, so that a dead man could come out of the ground and then stand on his podium. This would be the top of Japan. Off-screen Mirio. Yes, I did it, he said happily. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, the stupid nerd is not at the top, he said, laughing just like the arrogant ones, and you could see an Izuku with tears being comforted by girlfriends since his dream was to be the symbol of peace. Me. It's not over yet, I said to stop them from laughing and frowning. Arrogant. How come it doesn't end? Me. Look at the screen, I said, so everyone could gain attention. Inside the screen presenter. Well, now for those who stayed, we said we had a surprise. Some wondered what it would be. Well, here we brought exclusively the world's top 1 hero, I said, so that everyone would be surprised and excited. Here the symbol of hope that with his shining smile gives light in the darkness, followed by that you could see how green rays would appear all over the stage, and here the hero Dekuuu, he said, so that an Izuku fell from the sky wrapped in green rays. Off-screen everyone was impressed by why he was the top 1 worldwide. Everyone. I can't believe it, they said, amazed. Bakugo. Since the nerd is the top 1 worldwide and I'm not, he said, being supported by the arrogant ones. Me. Through his effort he achieved it, which you have never done. Izuku would be crying not out of sadness but out of happiness since he achieved more than being the symbol of peace. He managed to be the symbol of hope, and his girlfriends would be hugging him. Nana would be proud of the 9th, as would GT, who was hitting AM for what he would do to the boy, and Inko was proud. Inside the screen presenter. Okay, hero Deku, any words? She said to give him the microphone, a little red from seeing him face to face. Izuku. Well, this power that I got is not just power to those who were surprised. I tried hard. Nobody believed in me. I only had the support of my mother to those who would be surprised, but well, I know what it feels like to be discriminated against. That is why they tell you that you can't be a hero, that your quirk is useless, or you are a villain because of your quirk. Ignore them.
You know why, he said, so that everyone would pay attention, because you can be a hero, he said, so that some would cry at his words, since that is what they wanted to hear. Well, it was a pleasure for me to be with you today, and remember to try hard and go beyond your limits. Plus, everyone in the audience, Ultra, they said with some tears of happiness. You pay on the screen stain. That's a real hero, admire him, said, pointing at Izuku. The villains were happy because a hero had told them they could be heroes, but they wished he had been born earlier, because if that were the case, maybe they would be good people. Nana. The ninth one makes me proud, she said with her hand on her chest. Kids. Dad, Deku ne is so cool, said with admiration, some tears for the words of their idol. The arrogant ones. What stupidity is that, they said with their typical smile, but they didn't expect a green blur to rid them with punches. Izuku. You've already tired me out, he said coldly, giving them a shiver. Me. Okay, calm down, I said to snap my fingers and everyone would go back to their places. Well, today I'm going to send you to your world, I said, so you'll be surprised. All. Why? Me. Well, it's Christmas, I'm going to send them so they can spend it with their families, and Nana, you'll come back too, but before you come back I'm going to give Inko and AFO a gift, I said, so light will surround them. All. What gifts? Me. Look, I said, so everyone could see. Inko. Ah. She said, so that when she saw herself she was taller and thinner. I have my figure before being depressed, she said, and all the men had a blush, and then they would return to see AFO asterisk. AFO. I don't feel different, said why he saw normally and breathed normally, but thought he had his quirks that kept him alive. Me. Take off your helmet, followed by AFO taking off his helmet, and Hiyashi could be seen. Inko. Hi, Hiyashi said with tears asterisk AFO. Huh? How do you know? He said to touch his face. Me. I gave you back your face, I said to see an AFO who stood up from his seat and went to Inko. AFO, when he was near Inko, he hugged her and shed some tears, which surprised everyone since the number one villain was being affectionate. AFO. Inko, I'm sorry for not coming back, but I didn't want to put you in danger, and He didn't finish because Inko interrupted him. Inko. Hiyashi, it's obvious that you're sorry, but why didn't you send a letter or something? She said sadly and a little angry. AFO. I was afraid that if I sent you something you would track me and discover that I had a connection with you and hurt you, she said with tears. I could only send those letters on Izuku's birthday, since that day I was able to hack the state connections, she said with some tears and surprising everyone. Izuku would approach them. AFO expected anything but Izuku to hug him. Izuku. Thanks for worrying, said crying, so the three of them hugged each other, creating one less familiar scene for an annoyed AM. Midoriya, stay away, he's a dirty villain, he said, just like the fake ones. Nana. Shut up, Toshi said to give him a smash that left him KO. Anyone else? She said, and the false heroes would calm down reluctantly. Eri. So you are my grandfather, said an Eri next to AFO asterisk. AFO. Yes, little one, I'm your grandfather, he said while carrying an Eri who was happy since now they were a complete family. Me. Now let's see what happened in the battle of AFO and AM before all this happened, about why he would leave his family and never come back, I said, so everyone would pay attention to the screen. The screen turns on, you could see Hiyashi and Inko in front of a crib where little Izuku was. Needless to say, the women were with faces in their eyes seeing him like that. AFO. I'm sorry, Inko, but I have to go to work. I promise I'll be back in a month. Inko. I won't be able to do it without you, she said while crying. AFO. Don't worry, I promise I'll come back, he said to give her a kiss and leave the house, and then walk through an alley and leave in a doorway. At the League of Villains wedding, Kurogiri. Master, the heroes are outside, he said, and then an AM will pass at full speed taking AFO, who is with his mask. AFO would let go and step away so he could talk. AFO. AM, wait, I have a proposal for you, which is that I want to I don't finish because AM would have an attack without listening to him. AM. I will avenge my teacher, he said angrily asterisk AFO. That's how we are then, so be it, he said to put his arm in straw mode XD asterisk. AM would prepare a united destroy smash, the two would prepare to hit. AFO would hit him in the ribs, destroying his stomach and vital organs, and since AFO received the attack on his face, both would fall. AFO would be taken by a portal before falling, and AM would be helped by the heroes.
Time skip AFO could be seen sitting in front of a screen, holding a photo. AFO. I'm sorry Inko, but I won't be able to come back, she said in a sad tone. The screen turns off. The women would be crying, Izuku, Nana and GT would be beating up AM, who was begging for mercy, and then Inko and AFO would be hugging each other with Eri between them. Tamura. And what would happen to my friend if AM had accepted the proposal? He said, thinking we would leave him. AFO. I would have easily adopted you. Inko. That's why you kept talking about adopting a child. Tamura. Now that he asked, thinking he would spend Christmas alone. Inko. If you want, you can spend it with us. Son asterisk, that word would echo in Tamura's head and he would run to hug Inko and feel the warmth of a mother. Tamura. Hey, you didn't disappear, he said with tears because he thought she had disappeared. Me. Well, this is my gift now. You have to activate your quirk. But well, now you are going to go to your world to spend Christmas the next day. I will bring you so you can see again, I said, so they would nod, and then I snap and they are gone. Me. Well, it's time to spend Christmas with my family, I said, to make a portal appear and to go with my family and spend Christmas. In the bnha world. Let's go with the Midoriya family, who were with two new members, Toga and Tamura, and they will wonder why Toga. Well, Izuku invites her since he didn't have anyone. They were preparing since they invited the Todoroki family, Misuki, Kota, the brothers from Nabu Island, who were already there since I teleported them with them, and Aizawa. Izuku. Children, come down, he said to see Eri, Katsuma and Mahoro in Christmas clothes. Eri. Trick or treat, said with a pumpkin. Izuku. Eri. This holiday is not Halloween, he said with a chibi face. Eri. And what is this? Izuku. This is Christmas. Eri. And what is it about? She said with a tender face. Izuku. Try to. Tamura. Receiving gifts and Ma. He didn't finish because he got hit by a Toga. Toga. She's a girl, she said, a little annoyed by what she was going to say. Izuku. Well, Christmas is when you are with your loved ones, he said with a smile. Katsuma and Mahoro. And don't forget Santa, they said with stars. Eri. Who is Santa? She asked fearfully. Tamura. It's the demo. Gets a slap but from Izuku. Izuku. Don't scare her. Well, Santa is a man who enters houses, and if you behaved well this year he brings you the gift you asked for, he said with emotion. Eri. Gifts with stars. Izuku. It's true, I forgot to send my letter. Katsuma and Mahoro. As two, they said in panic. Were you? Paper. Izuku. If it's when you send him a letter with a message and the gift you want, takes out a sheet here, write what you want so we can go and leave it in the courier, he said with excitement to see how Eri wrote like lightning. Well, kids, we're leaving, then we'll come back, let them know that we left, he said to leave with the kids. AFO. Have you not told him yet? Inko. I don't have the courage to break it like that. Tamura. Even I know it's not real. Toga. Poor thing, he'll surely find out somewhere. Then they would knock on the door and open it, and the Todoroki would be there, Kota accompanied by the Pussycats and Mitsuki. Everyone. Hello. Midoriya and Toga. Hello. Fuyumi and Pixie Bob. And Izuku. We want to give him his Christmas present, they said with a silly smile. Inko. Well, she went with the children to leave her letter to Santa, she said, so there would be silence. Shino. You haven't told him yet. Inko. I don't have the courage to break it. Kota. Even I know it. Todoroki. How ugly, Midoriya is going to suffer. Suddenly someone would knock on the door and they would see Dabi and Nana. Everyone. Mom. And Dabi. Both. Hello. Inko. Not that it bothers me, but what are you doing here? Nana. Izuku invited me, said with a silly smile Dabi. Toga, Todoroki's and I have to talk to you, he said seriously and determined. All. Okay. Now the Midoriya and Toga were seen talking to Nana and laughing, and on the other hand the Todoroki with Dabi. Endeavor. And what was that, he said seriously and without letting his guard down. Dabi. Well, I'm really sorry for leaving you, he said while taking off the patches and taking off his wig. The Todoroki would be shocked to see the one they thought was dead. Todoroki. Tuya. Dabi. Yes, he said calmly, but received a punch from Natsu. I deserved it. He received a slap from Fuyumi asterisk that too. He was going to receive an ice pillar on his manhood. That's a lot, he said, to be hugged by his mother. Ray. Hi-sun said crying, why did you leave, Dobby? He went for the old man and everyone would look at Endeavor badly and he would get worse. Endeavor. I'm really sorry, my desire to be number one led me to this, but I realized that being number one isn't everything. Dobby. And that's why I came back. I saw your change and decided to come back so that everyone would hug him except Endeavor because he didn't get blindfolded. Come on old man, he said, and Endeavor hugged them and the years in heaven. So they returned and told him why Dobby's new luck, then they would start talking. AFO and Endeavor agreed they would catch up since they had studied together, and Fuyumi with Pixie Bob were sad since Izuku was not there. Inko. Don't you think Izuku is taking too long? She said nervously about what could have happened to her children. Mitsuki. You're right. AFO. Let's go find. I didn't finish because something was heard. Joe Merry Christmas to everyone was heard while jingle bells were also playing. Everyone would go out to see since they knew the voices and saw Izuku with the children and a fat man in a trio with reindeer flying. Everyone. I can't believe it. Santa exists, they said, surprised to see him with their eyes. Then the trio would go down and leave Izuku with the children who each had a gift. Santa. Thank you for believing and see you next Christmas, he said, and then he goes off in his sleigh and gets lost in the night. Izuku, children. Bye Santaa, they said happily upon meeting Santa. Everyone. But what? Everyone would enter the house. AFO. What we just saw is the real thing, he said while looking at Izuku and the children with their gifts in their hands. Izuku, kids. Yes, they said with a chibi face. Tamura. Wasn't it just a fabrication? Asked in disbelief. Izuku. No, Pixie Bob. You had us preached, he said while hugging Izuku as well as Fuyumi and Nana. Endeavor. And how did they know him? He asked doubtfully. Shoto and Natsuo. That's not the important thing, everyone sees that what's important is where our gifts are, they said desperately, and then Koda, the others Todoroki, Toga, AFO and Inko will ask themselves the same thing. Izuku. He told us that you didn't believe and behaved badly, he said, so everyone has a depressing aura. Koda. This wouldn't have happened to me if my aunt hadn't told me, he said with a depressing aura. Shino. I didn't think it existed, said the same as Koda. AFO. But answer how you met him, that doubt is killing me, he said, so everyone can see. Izuku. Kids. Well. Flashback. Izuku and the children could be seen heading to the postcard to send their letters to Santa. Upon arriving they would see a slightly bald man with white hair and beard. Sir. What is it offered to you, he said with a smile. Izuku, children. We came to have you deliver our letter to Santo, they said excitedly. The gentleman would be surprised by that since no one did that anymore. Sir. And why do they do it? Izuku, children. So that Santa receives our message and sends what I want for this Christmas, they said with a smile. Sir. Ho ho ho, who would have thought that there was still hope for Christmas, he said, and then a red tornado covered him and revealed Santa. Izuku, children. Mr. Santa is you, they said with stars. Santa. Yes, and thank you, Izuku. Kids. Why? Santa. Because of believing in me. Today children lost faith in me and adults believe I'm a myth, he said a little sadly. Izuku. Kids. No. Santa. But there is still hope, and thanks to you, there is hope. Izuku. Why? Santa. Will you help me deliver gifts all over the world? Izuku. Children. Yes. Santa. Okay, follow me, he said, so the kids and Izuku would follow him into the dark XD*. Toma to Santa. Come with me, he said to press a button and a secret door would open. Izuku and the children were with stars in their eyes. Then they would follow Santa to see what was behind the door, the dejected elves and the sad reindeer. Santa. Well, today is Christmas and we have to work, so let's go. There's still hope, he said, so that some elves would be happy and the reindeer wouldn't be sad since they thought Christmas was over for them. Any elf. Why this change of plans? Santa. For this guy and the children who gave me hope that Christmas could still be revived, he said, so some would be happy. Well, everyone got to work and quickly finished the gifts for all the good children, and the reindeer were very motivated. Then the children, Izuku, and Santa would get on the sleigh that was already ready to fly and had the bag of gifts. Santa. Ready, she said looking at our protagonists. Izuku. Kids. Yes, Santa. Well, it's time, he said, to grab a rope that was attached to the reindeer so they would pull the sleigh. He whipped it and they flew away. After that they stopped at different houses. The children would break some decorations and accidentally burn down Lita's house because they dropped someone's gift that strangely contained Fire XD. After giving the gifts to all the children in the world, through a hologram that was on the sleigh that the whole world could see, yellow lights turned on. Izuku. Holy, what is that, he said, pointing at the hologram. Santa. They're the children who would believe again, he said with a smile. Thank you very much, now let's go to your house, he said, so the protagonists would nod, and then you know the rest. Finn flashback. Izuku. Kids. And that's how we met him, with chibi face. You could see that everyone was surprised. Kota, Natsuo, Shoto, Toga and Dabi crying comically since they couldn't be on that adventure and didn't even receive a gift. Inko. Wow, who would have thought that Santa would be real? Izuku. And that's why you didn't receive a gift, he said with one knee, but he would receive a slap from his mother. Oh, it wasn't that bad, he said, rubbing himself. AFO. So what did they order? And everyone will pay attention to what they asked for. Eri. Well, she said to open her gift and you could see a caramel apple, but the caramel was green. A caramel apple with lemon caramel, she said while eating her apple with pleasure. Some would even break into a sweat. Katsuma, Mahoro. We asked, they said, to open them and you would see pajamas, but with the theme of Izuku's outfit, pajamas of the Deku outfit, they said, smiling. Izuku. And finally I asked, he said, to open his gifts and you would see 4 action figures of Izuku with his hero suit, but the theme was how he saved each child dolls in the way he saved them, he said, so that the children would get stars when they saw them, but well, they were not for me but for them, he said, giving the dolls to each respective child. Everyone would be moved because he didn't ask for something for himself but for others, and that wish was not selfish at all. Well, after that everyone spent it as if they were a family, laughing and talking, and of course if they realize Pixie Bob and Fuyumi would take him to his room and there they would do the Fantastic, which would be heard moans and stuff XD. I'm not going to put lemon XD. Well, and they will wonder how the others spend it. Well, the others of the League of Villains would spend it drinking among themselves, and Kurogiri depressed since his teacher forgot about him. Stain happy since he got a new gift and it was a fake hero tracker, the best gift for him. The arrogant ones, since nobody wanted to spend it with them, would be alone, while some of them were depressed. Classes A, B were with their families. The heroes were at a party they organized. Aizawa was sleeping in a pool of his vomit since he had drunk too much, and Hawks was depressed since his boss forgot him. And this is how this Christmas would end, between laughter, happiness, sadness and many more emotions. In the world of bnha, after Christmas people would prepare for the new year because apparently the Guardian forgot about them XD. The Midoriya family would organize a party to say goodbye to the year. They invited the Todoroki family with Dabi, who reintegrated into his family. The Pussycats with Kota, the brothers from Naboo Island, had stayed to take care of Izuku because his father had died in an accident. The brothers would cry, but Izuku was there to support them. Also Mitsuki, Izuku's girlfriends, who were now going to go because they couldn't spend Christmas with him because they wanted to be with their families. Toga, Stain on Izuku's side, who begged them to go. And they will say why, because they have a good relationship, something like teacher and student XD. Aizawa, some from Class B in Kirishima, who had no one to spend it with since his parents would travel XD. It was already the day, that day which was the last of the year. The children played among themselves. The boys, with permission from the adults, saw who drank more. The adults talked while others were already grabbing each other for being drunk XD, Enji and Stain, but luckily Aizawa would stop them before ruining the party. The women talked about I don't know XD, and the girls saw a green-haired guy. The green-haired boy's girlfriends couldn't stop watching him, because they wanted to start the year by doing the fantastic fruit, since Fuyumi and Pixie Bob would tell the others what they did at Christmas. Needless to say they argued, but later they solved it. Izuku. People, everyone would see him again. There are only 20 seconds left until the end of the year, he said excitedly, and everyone would see him. There are only 15 left. Everyone quickly count, he said smiling. All. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Happy New Year. They said that later fireworks would decorate the sky and everyone would start hugging, but when Izuku was going to hug his girlfriends, they grabbed him and took him to their house. They were on the street with a government permit that allowed them to use that track XD. And there you would hear moans, applause and Izuku. 1 for all 10,000% smash.
Of course those who heard everything would get red. The women were jealous and those who didn't hear were normal. Then some being very drunk would start to fight, Inko and AFO would make up for lost time. Toga would be drinking strawberry juice while saying blood. She was so drunk that she couldn't differentiate XD. Dabi making strange figures with fire. Endeavor who set fire to the food table, and by the way Aizawa who was in his jacket. Needless to say he was running while turning around on the floor to put out the fire, and behind him he would be being chased by Kirishima and Shoto who had buckets of water. And so the year would end for the cast of bnha. The next day in Izuku's room he was with his girlfriends with a strange liquid covering them while they had a silly smile, and Izuku was very blushing covering his face with his hands because he had lost control and thought he had hurt them. In another room Inko and AFO hugging each other while they were asleep. And outside the Midoriya house there was an Aizawa sleeping on the track with his face burned in homeless clothes. Stain with his head going through a wall, Endeavor who had on his forehead, "I'm a whore, XD." Shoto in boxers on top of a table that was broken, Kirishima hanging from a light pole, Dabi who was buried in the ground and you could only see his head, a Toga asleep while biting raw meat, Mitsuki in a pool of his own vomit, a Natsuo who was hugging a dog that had a white liquid in his mouth. Yes, gentleman, Natsuo is a furry XD. And they will say what happened to the others because they were more reasonable, and when they saw that he got out of control they left. Somewhere in the multiverse I was coming out of a doorway with a smile. Me. I had a great time with the family at Christmas and New Year's, but well, let's see what the bnha cast did. I see everything from Christmas and New Year's. That is epic, and this is worth gold, I said so that everyone would appear. Izuku still blushing, his girlfriends who were already clean, Inko and AFO who were still hugging each other. Nana sad since she wasn't invited to the party, Mitsuki who was disgusted because before she brought them she was waking up and saw their state. And the arrogant ones sad since they also spent it alone. Me. Well, how did you spend it? All. Good, great, bad, fuck you. Me. I see there are fewer and those are the fake heroes, I said with a smile, well, changing the subject, and Natsuo is a furry, I said laughing, and everyone would look at me strangely. What? All GT, Nana. Why do you say that? What is that? Me. Well, the first is because I said to point at the screen and see Natsuo hugging a dog that had white liquid in its mouth, and the second is when you don't like anime in a normal way. Everyone. Natsuo. Ha 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 ha. Natsuo would be red with embarrassment. Ray. I didn't think you had those tastes, son, he said with grace. Fuyumi. Calm down, little brother, I support you, she said, more attached to Izuku than usual, just like Izuku's other girlfriends. Dabi. Ha 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 ha, couldn't stop laughing. Me. Well, today I have a guest, it's another security guard. I warn you that some of you might be scared, but in a good way, I said with a smile and a little nervous. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, another god of shit. He didn't finish because he was knocked out because his mother threw an explosion at his back. Me. Thanks BU. I didn't finish because a rabbit spoke. Mirko. I'm sure I'm much stronger, he said with an arrogant smile. Me. Oh, you already screwed up, I said a little nervous, but well, here I present to you. Broken Hearts 12. You would see someone in armor and had what would lose yellow eyes. Me. What's up, my friend? I said so my arm would go around his neck. Broken. Well, I came here to visit the new guy, apart from the fact that you invited me, he said calmly, to turn to see the bnha you, he said to look at Mirko, and his eyes turned red. Mirko. What the hell? I didn't finish because Broken would throw a punch that would knock her to the ground and then continue punching her. Time skip. Me. You're done, I said with a chibi face. Broken. Yes, he said so that his eyes turned green. Note, if you want to know about him, go to his profile and see where his guardian self reports. V. A deformed mass with rabbit ears could be seen, implying that it was Mirko. Me. Dude, look how you left the floor. Do you know how hard it is to clean the carpet? I said, depressed because not even with my powers could it be cleaned. Broken. Okay, I'll take care of it, he said to throw the rug in the trash. Done. Me. Really? I said so he would look strange. It doesn't matter anymore. Well, how was I going to? I didn't finish because Izuku asked me something. Izuku. Mr. Thunder, what is his appearance since we can only see him as a black shadow with white eyes and mouth? Me. It's true, but before snapped his fingers and Mirko was healed and Broken had orange eyes. Well, my appearance is this, I said, so the black smoke would disappear and you could see. Broken. Well, today I came at Thunder's request since I wanted to see a universe that I created, he said, so that some would be surprised. Me. That's right, in this universe. Before I finish someone interrupts me. Bakugo. Haha God, he needs another one to see universes that he knew. He didn't finish because Broken threw his club police style or a big baton, whatever they call it, where it is on his head so that it later returns to his hand. Broken. I'm already fed up, he said with red eyes. Me. Okay dude, and as apologies, I'll give you Rumi so you can torture her and do whatever you want while smiling as I get rid of scum. Broken. Seems fine to me, he said, and then with his minigun he will throw tranquilizer darts at Mirko, who was left like a porcupine on the floor. XD. You can't do that, said in fighting stance. Me. Why, are you telling me what to do? I said with a death aura that flooded the room and scared everyone except Broken. No, she said with fear and then sat down. Me. I like them quiet and obedient. Well, Broken, would you do me the honor of putting the universe? Broken. Of course, why not? The universe is called. I don't care, and if you're wondering why it's called that, then watch it, he said, but before turning on the screen he stopped it. Me. Wait, I said before I put it. Broken. What's going on? Me. We have to get the kids out of here before they get traumatized. Broken. I almost screwed up. I snap my fingers and the children disappear. Me. Well, the kids aren't at the amusement park since my pets are on break, so I took them to a room where they can play, I said, so they could relax. Well, now put the universe. Broken. Now it's time to give the pleasure of traumatizing people, said to put the universe. The screen turns on. You could see a boy about 17 or 18 years old, chained, with long green hair, in a room with 4 walls. After all, he has been locked up for 3 years and 3 months in the worst prison in Japan. The Tartar, where the most dangerous criminals are, the non-necessary of society. Well, they will ask themselves. Who is it? What are you doing there? Why are you there? Off screen. Girlfriends. Inko. What's there? Izuku, my son. Me. Keep watching and don't ask any more questions. Inside the screen. Well, he's Izuku Midoriya, the best hero of this generation. And they'll say what he does there if he's a hero, because someone with hand fetishes saw him as a threat. And couldn't think of a better idea than to blame him as the supposed traitor of the UA. Everyone, and when I say everyone, civilians, heroes. Kota, Eri and the entire UA, they didn't care about all the heroic acts he did. They just hunted him like an animal. His mother and sister took away his last name. She considered him her daughter and said that he was never her father, and Mirio and Izumi were better. His supposed girlfriend broke up with him and then kissed a menstruation hair, and his idol, teacher, the one he considered the father he never had, destroyed him by taking away the power that cost him so much effort, so many tears just for a quirk. So they tell him, you were never worthy. Then OFA will be taken away from him and he will be taken to Tartarus, where the inmates tortured him every day. Izuku no longer cared about anything. He realized that love is false and that nobody care about you. Nady Cray RNTI. No one loves you. Just for not having a stupid quirk. If he finally opened his eyes, after that he no longer begged, he no longer cried, he no longer screamed. Of course the criminals, when they saw that he did not have a human reaction, got scared and moved away. Those 3 years Izuku spent training, and when an inmate approached him he ended up with broken ribs or broken arms. Those years Izuku learned to be fast, efficient, powerful and precise when hitting the human body. Since no matter the quirk, the human body will always have the same weaknesses. Returning to the present, a purple portal would appear in his cell, but he didn't care in the least. From it emerged several figures. A hand fetishist, a crazy woman dressed as a schoolgirl, a black-haired man with eye patches, and a crazy man wearing a suit that is too tight on his body. Then the hand fetishist spoke. Tamura. Wow, but if he is the hero Deku, how has life treated you? I waited for several minutes and nothing, no reaction, just those empty eyes. Honestly, that was making them nervous. Tamura. You're not going to talk. Well, it doesn't matter. Today the League will do a maximum blow and we will reveal the truth. right on the 5th anniversary of your justified confinement." He smiled like a psychopath waiting for a reaction but got nothing. Tamura. "Ah, never mind. Dabi, stay with him and the camera crew. Remember to kill him when I give you the signal." Dabi. "Whatever you say." With that the League went on its portal, leaving Dabi with Izuku. No words came out of either of the two as they looked at each other, Dabi with evil in his eyes and Izuku with indifference. It's already 7 p.m. at the Best Hero Academy, UA. Class 5A was celebrating their graduation. When a giant portal opens, out comes Gigantomachia, many Nomus and villain wins, all with the League of Villains at the front. Then the fight began where the villains swept away by far. With the heroes now in a circle, a camera crew was activated so all of Japan could see it. Tamura. "Hello everyone, and look how the supposed heroes couldn't win. Finally the era of heroes will end." Tamura. "Now, heroes, remember Izuku Midoriya. Katsumi. Don't talk about that traitorous bastard. If he was just a traitor who was rotting in Tartarus and I made many insults Ivan and they came." Tamura. "Ha ha ha, seriously, did they really believe the video or God, what idiots, there was never a traitor in the UA, their security is crap," and he kept laughing and laughing. The face of everyone at UA changed to horror and regret, especially Katsumi Bakugo, the one who loved Izuku, Izuku's ex-family, his mother and sister Izumi Midoriya, the little Kota and Eri who was 10 years old. No one could believe they made a mistake. They, the heroes, made a mistake. Tamura. And to celebrate his 3rd year in Tartarus, we have a special broadcast from our favorite arsonist, Davi. He said, pointing to the screens, where Izuku's cell was, but there was nothing. Tamura would call David but nothing. Then he told him to open a portal sending 2 extra villains. When they were about to enter, 2 hands grabbed each of their heads and crushed them like cherries. At that, everyone would be on guard. From the portal, a muscular silhouette could be seen. It was Izuku who was bringing in a Dabi who was more dead than alive. Before anyone can say anything, Izuku rips off Dabi's wig and then removes his eye patches, revealing Tuya Todoroki, the lost son of the Todoroki family. Shoto and his family were crying with happiness their brother was alive, but that happiness didn't last long when Izuku took Dabi who was begging for mercy. Dabi. "No, please stop being a villain. I want to see my clack high sounds cool clenched fist." The pleas fell on deaf ears and quite naturally he twisted her neck at a 360-degree angle. A very big silence fell. Nobody expected that from Izuku, someone kind, tender, etc., but they forgot that Izuku died. Shoto. Why did you kill him? He had already given up. Those screams and cries came from the Todoroki Izuku family just said. Izuku. I don't care, he said it in such a way that everyone shivered. Tamura was going to throw a tantrum but Izuku in a blur of speed took the metal device from Kurogiri causing it to disperse into fog while screaming in pain. Tamura was going to order the Nomus to attack but before speaking they fell to the ground like dominoes and you could see that they had no brains. A dull noise was heard and then a Gigantomachia could be seen lying on the ground while convulsing and screaming in pain while holding his head, when a hole opens in his skull, evacuating loud sounds and Izuku comes out destroying his skull from inside Gigantomachia. Many people vomited at the scene. In a blur of speed, Izuku positioned himself behind twice and didn't have time to say anything as Izuku dug his fingers into his back and split him vertically. Absolutely everyone was still with fear. In less than a blink of an eye he was positioned in front of Spiner who would experience something worse. Izuku would give him a strong hammer blow making his head literally pop out of his butt. Mr. Comprise didn't have time to scream as his mask was ripped off, face and all, but his eyes were still visible, moving like crazy, only to receive a blow to the Adam's apple and drown in his blood. Toga was crying, she was scared. Another blur of speed and Toga was upside down. Izuku had her by the legs and little by little he broke her until he ripped off the Toga's leg, all while crying, screaming and begging for him to stop. Toga. Please Izuku K. That was the last thing Toga said. In the end she tore off an entire leg, taking part of the torso of the body. Her face expressed pain, sadness and also remorse. Izuku began to hit her on the floor, until her skull burst. Only Tamura was left, who was scared shitless when he was about to say something. Izuku in a blur stands in front of him and tears off the hands he had, removing skin and flesh. When he was about to scream more, Izuku hits him. Just when he was about to finish, a voice tries to stop him. Midoriya Shonen. Don't do it. Izuku stood still and said, Izuku. I'm not Midoriya, remember? And he proceeded to hit Tamura's body, which practically burst from so many blows. The next step was to throw him away like a worthless sack of potatoes. Off screen, you could see everyone with traumatized faces. At first the false heroes gave reason that he was the traitor, but his friends and girlfriends defended him. Seeing his look after everything he suffered gave them chills. When they saw how Izuku killed those villains, they felt terror, and then seeing the massacre he did, and without compassion, with a look that he didn't care, he terrified them, and some demanded that he be taken to Tartarus. Izuku. How lucky the children aren't here, he said, hugging his girlfriends who were in shock at how they saw their boyfriend and didn't believe him in that universe. Inko was crying because she didn't believe her son in that universe, being comforted by AFO, who was also sad about how her son was treated. Those who hurt Izuku and wanted to hurt him were filled with fear, thinking that this would happen to them. The ex-League of Villains vomited from seeing their deaths, and Atoga was crying but felt a hug from Izuku that calmed her down. Bakugo was angry that Deku was stronger and had no quirk. Well, do you want to continue with this universe, or are we going to another one? Everyone. Get it out. They screamed in terror. Well, don't shout. And Broken, you're sick, how could you do that? Broken shrugs. Broken knows mucho John Wick XD. XD. Well, I'm going to look for another universe. While I go, they're going to be watched by Broke, who will stay to see some universes. I said to leave. Broken. Well, the first idiot I fuck with, I will have no mercy. While his eyes turned red. Everyone. Hi, they said with fear. There will be a portal where I get out of there. He came back for the one who cries. I didn't finish speaking when I saw the entire movie theater destroyed and a broken one on top of a pile of corpses, and you could see in a corner Izuku and his group, the children, their girlfriends, pussycats, the Todorokis, Mitsuki, the Midoriya family, Tamura, who is now part of the Midoriya, Toga, some villains and some heroes. What the hell happened here? When I finish, a rock falls on my head. Who was it? I said, looking around. Izuku. Mandalay. Language. Okay, but. Broken, what happened? Broken. Flashback. You could see Broke all relaxed while he watched something on his cell phone. Bakugo. Hey god of junk, I'm bored. Broken would be annoyed since he had zero patience with arrogant people, but he would ignore it. Bakugo. Don't ignore me. Screams, trying to attack him. Broken. You know what? You've already tired me, he said to put on his knuckle dusters, and then he launched himself and began a massacre against Bakugo and those who tried to support him, who were the arrogant ones, because they were also brutally massacred without compassion. Then he took out a minigun and began to shoot everywhere. Fin flashback. Broken. And that would be all, said with a chibi face. Really? Well, it doesn't matter, I said to snap my fingers and everything would go back to how it was, but those who died had traumatized faces. Well, do you remember the previous universe? I said, so everyone has a terrified look. Well, let's watch a happy one to cheer up your spirits and take away the trauma, I said, so they will be relieved. Well, first I'll bring the children, I said to bring the children who had candy in their mouths. Well, I'm going to give you a little information about this universe, I said, so that a tablet would appear in my hand. Well, it's about how Izuku takes care of his son with Kami, I said, so that the two of them blush and the interested parties get jealous. Izuku. And why should it be funny? You should see. Broken. Broken. Yes. Would you do me a favor? Broken. Sure, why not, said to press a button that was flying. The screen turns on. Izuku could be seen carrying a 1-year-old child in front of a truck that was about to leave. Kami. Izuku, remember to take good care of the baby, I'm leaving it to you. Izuku. Yes, my captain said in a military pose, making Kami laugh a little. Kami. Okay, I love you, said to give her a kiss and leave, closing the door. Izuku. Well, now what are we going to do with you? He said, carrying his son. Izuku. Let's go watch a movie, he said to take his son to the living room and leave him on the couch. Izuku would leave him there, but he didn't realize he was about to fall, and when he realized it was too late, he was going to fall. Off-screen. Inko Kami. How are you so irresponsible with my grandson, son, they said with dark auras. Everyone would be terrified and Izuku's girlfriends would join Kami and beat Izuku up. Yo. I'm sorry, I'm going to paint. I said so they would stop hitting him and see an Izuku more dead than alive. Back to the screen. He fell off the piece of furniture. Everyone outside was afraid that something would happen, but before crashing he started to float. Everyone would be surprised by that. Izuku. You can float, he said, shocked, but quickly grabbed his son. When I was about to sit him down, the bell rang. Izuku. Damn, okay Hiyashi, please stay still and don't move, he said to leave him on a baby table. Izuku. I'm coming. Said to go to the door and open it, and they would see Shoto and Monoma, who had some bags. Shoto. Hello Izuku, I came to visit my nephew, he said with a smile. Off-screen. Everyone was surprised that at such a young age he had already awakened a quirk. The Todorokis would be happy to see Shoto with a smile. Inside the screen. Monoma. I came to visit little Hiyashi anyway. Izuku. Before you come in, I have to tell you something. Shoto. What is it? Izuku. He awakened his quirk. I said it so that they would both be surprised. Monoma. Impossible, at such a young age. Izuku. I was surprised too. Shoto. And what is it? Izuku. I think it's floating, but come in, he said, and everyone entered the house. Come here, I left it, he said, to go to the living room and go to the rocking chair, but he didn't see anything. Shoto. And where is it? Izuku. I left it on the rocking chair, he said, and then a little boy's laughter was heard on the roof, so everyone would look up. Monoma. Don't worry, it's true. She said, impressed, just like Shoto, but before they could do anything, she disappeared into a blue vortex. Asterisk. The three. What the fuck? Izuku. Has two quirks. Shoto. I think so. Monoma. But where is it? Everyone would look for him, but all they heard was laughter, and when they went there was nothing but the laughter continued. Izuku. Let's see, I can deduce that it's a dimensional quirk, making it enter a dimension where it's the same, but we can only touch and level, making that a very good quirk, he said, starting to look to receive a zap from Monoma. Monoma. I've spoken well, man, and now is not the time for you to murmur, he said, upset. But suddenly another blue vortex would open and Izuku's son would come out of it. Off-screen. Everyone was surprised since he was someone with two quirks. Kirishima. How manly your son is, Izu bro. Izuku. Wow, my son is awesome, he said, proud of his son. Kami. Wow, Tari Roto. Back to the screen. Izuku. Catch him, he said, so Shoto could grab Hiyashi. But suddenly it caught fire. Izuku. Shoto, what are you doing, my son? He said, upset, thinking it was Shoto. Shoto. Dude, I didn't do anything, he said, releasing Hiyashi, and when he hit the ground, the fire went out and turned into metal. Everyone would have their eyes wide open seeing that he had four quirks. Off-screen. Everyone had their mouths on the floor seeing Izuku's son have more than two quirks. He's a danger. When he's born he has to give him to us, he said, smiling like an idiot. Mirko. If he has to be with us, not with you, he said arrogantly. Izuku. Don't believe it, you pair of retards, he said, activating the OFA at 100%, terrifying because of the imposing nature he gave, and the women blushed. Monoma. Is it me or is Izuku's son broken? Men. Well, it's not just you, they said with respect, and the villains were afraid in case he wanted to become a hero. Inside the screen. Izuku. Wow, I didn't expect this, he said to grab it, but he couldn't because he was thinking too much. Hey, I can't lift it, he said, making an effort. Shoto. You're joking, right? Izuku. No, come and help, he said, so that they would go help him and be surprised since it was heavy. Izuku and his friends took Hiyashi to the living room so he could be there and watch over him. When they arrived, they left him on the floor, but when he touched him, he transformed into a demon, and jumped at Monoma's face and began to scratch him. Monoma. No, for my beautiful face, Ah screamed while running from one side to the other, chased by Shoto to take it off. Izuku quickly went to the kitchen and grabbed a vase with something inside and took it to the living room. Izuku. Hiyashi. Said so the baby could see it. Look what I have in my hand, said so he could take a cookie out of the vase, and then Hiyashi transformed, while walking with difficulty towards his dad, but on the way he began to divide. Monoma. ICC can't believe it, he said in pain on the floor while he saw his friend's son. Shoto. This is impossible, no one can have more than one quirk. Hiyashi and his clones headed to Izuku, as they walked to different parts. Izuku. Hiyashi, calm down if you want a cookie, he said, so that Hiyashi then joined in so that Izuku would give him a cookie, with which he calmed down. Off-screen. Nezu. Look at all that potential, he said, looking at the next generation of heroes. GT. Izuku, what did you give your son to make him so broken? Izuku. No lose, said, looking at the screen. AFO. HAHAHAHAHA, my grandson is the most powerful, he said proudly. Bakugo. Surely my son would be more powerful than the useless one, he said, and then was knocked out by a blow from Mitsuki, who had already had enough of Katsuki. He should give it to us even more. The fake heroes. Exactly, he said, thinking that if they had it they would gain fame and fortune XD. Nana. You disappoint me, Toshi said to give him a smash in the face. Izuku. I will never give it to them, they only want it for their own benefit, he said, disappointed with today's heroes and being stopped by his girlfriends from committing a massacre. Inside the screen, Izuku and the boys were sitting on the couch in the living room while watching Hiyashi eat the cookie. Shoto. I can't believe that, he said, pointing at his nephew. Doesn't cause so many problems, he said tiredly. Monoma. My face still hurts, he said, grabbing his face. Izuku. I'm going to tell Kami about this now, he said, seeing how the room was destroyed. Izuku. God said, looking up. Why does this have to happen to me? Amy said while putting a book on his face.
Shoto. No lose, said, looking at him with a chibi face just like Shoto. Izuku. Well, changing the subject, how are you doing with Suyu? Shoto. Well, but it's hard to take care of 4 children, he said tiredly, since he took care of them most of the time. Izuku. Okay, and you Monoma with Pony? Monoma. Well, fine, but it doesn't let me rest, apart from taking care of my children, if you know what I mean, right? Izuku. Yes, said, doing this with his hands *XD. Off-screen, Suyu and Pony would be blushing because of what the freckled man said, and Shoto and Monoma would blush too. Almost everyone. But how vulgar, they said, because of what the freckled man had done, and he would blush with shame. Inside the screen they would continue talking, but Hiyashi would approach Izuku and pull his pants. Hiyashi. Dad W want AC cookie, he said with difficulty. Izuku. Sorry, there are no more cookies left, he said, turning the mouth of the vase upside down, shaking it so that only the crumbs come out. Hiyashi. I want a gang, he said angrily, and it would transform into energy and move throughout the house. Izuku. It can't be. Shoto. Dude, why? Said tiredly. Monoma. Yeah, let's get to work, he said, to start looking for it like the others. After searching so much they got tired and returned to the living room, seeing Hiyashi sitting. Izuku. Are you serious? He asked, already tired and sad. While they watched him they could see how he turned to look at the window to still see a raccoon, and he would get angry to see how it was in his house and that he had to protect it. That is what his mind was processing. He would go to the window, being seen by the 3 who would not think that he would do anything. Hiyashi began to push the window, but nothing would happen. Izuku was already going to go for him, but Hiyashi dared the window to go out against the raccoon, thus beginning a full epic XD. The 2 would walk against each other. When they were face to face, the raccoon was going to hit Hiyashi, but he would transform into water passing through him, and then Hiyashi would turn into a puddle. The raccoon got scared and backed away. Hiyashi would return to his normal state, and suddenly his eyes shone green, and green laser beams would come out of them that would pierce and burn everything the raccoon touched. Seeing this, he would run away from them so that they wouldn't be hurt. Hiyashi stopped firing laser beams and suddenly ran at an overwhelming speed that would make Lightning McQueen's speed look ridiculous. XD. Hiyashi would stand in front of the raccoon, which would become scared. Hiyashi launched himself to attack it, and they were fighting on the ground while they rolled on the ground. They would separate, and Hiyashi grew in size, reaching 3 meters, and would try to crush him, but the raccoon would run to avoid being crushed. Hiyashi would begin to float, and in the sky he returned to his normal size and fell to the ground to continue the fight with the raccoon. But before continuing, Izuku, who was watching all this in surprise, grabbed him in the air, so that Hiyashi would then with his little hand point to a trash can that would be surrounded by a green aura so that it would be thrown towards the raccoon, and it would run away, disappearing into the night. Izuku was very surprised, and would pass it to Monoma, who picked him up so that later Hiyashi would accidentally shoot a laser beam from his eyes that would make a hole in Monoma's hair that would leave him bald on one side. Monoma. "No, my beautiful goat," he said, crying comically while looking at Hiyashi, who was laughing. After tidying everything up and leaving Hiyashi asleep so he wouldn't continue causing trouble, Monoma and Shoto would make out, and minutes later Kami would arrive. Kami. "Izuku, I'm here," he said, closing the door. "Izuku," Kami said, running towards the aforementioned, and he looked with dark circles and tired. "Please don't leave him with Hiyashi anymore," he said, crying comically and hugging her. Kami. "Why do you say that?" she asked, confused. Izuku. "Well, Hiyashi awakened his quirks." Kami. "Wait, quirks? Didn't you mean quirk?" she asked, confused. Izuku. "No, this is almost impossible, but he has more than 10 quirks," he said, so Kami's eyes would widen and then faint. Izuku. Kami said, upset by his wife. The screen turns off. Some laughed at Monoma's misfortune. He was in a corner being comforted by Pony. The arrogant and false heroes thought about how to take him away when he was born for their own benefit. Izuku. "Wow, my son is very powerful," he said, proud of his son. Kami. "Izuku-kun, you don't want him to be born already," she said flirtatiously, and Izuku blushed. Izuku. "If Izuku-kun, you don't want to have little green-haired ones," they said, the same as Kami. "Wow, you have more than 10 quirks. Me. It's not true," I said, and everyone would be surprised by what I said. "AFO. What are you talking about? Didn't you see his quirks?" he said, thinking that I was lying about his grandson. Me. "Well, the son of Izuku and Kami relatively does not know exactly how many quirks he has. Over the course of that universe, when he grows up, he awakens more quirks. That is why it is not known exactly how many," I said, and everyone would be surprised. Terrarian. "AFO. Ha 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 ha, my grandson is very strong," said proudly. Inko thought. He, a grandson to spoil," she thought happily. Eri. "Yeah, a little brother, but," she said, realizing something. "Where am I?" Me. "Well, you are the UA, being the new big three along with Kota and Katsuma." The three. "Yes, we will be just like Dad, Deku-ne," they said happily. Izuku. "I'm proud of them," he said, hugging the children and also hugging Mahoro, who was sad that he didn't give him a hug. Me. "Well, we already saw this, so they can calm down," I said, and everyone would nod. "Well, broken," I said, "but I would see him sleeping in a seat. I'm going to leave him because later I'll be hurt," I said, sweating a little. "Well, we'll see." Laughing Izuku. Me. "Well, you might be wondering who the laughing Izuku is, right?" All. "Yes, me. Well, he's an Izuku originally from the dark multiverse where the worst versions of Izuku come from," I said, surprising everyone and terrifying them. Fake hero. "He's a danger, he has to be locked up," he said, throwing himself at him, but he would receive a smash from Izuku. Izuku. "How they screw things up." He didn't finish because he received a slap from his girlfriends and a flip-flop in the face from Inko. Inko, girlfriends. "There are children present," they said with dark auras. Izuku. "Ha ha," he said with fear. Me. "Well, we'll see how the laughing Izuku originated, although the children will have to go," I said, "to send them to the children's room." "Well, broken, would you do me the honor?" I said, looking at that he left and without saying goodbye. I said with a depressing aura. Me. "We're just getting started," I said, discouraged. The screen turns on. You could see an Izuku chained, locked in a room with 4 walls in the worst prison in Japan, Tartarus. He would be with his eyes closed. Then the scene changes to just black and 2 figures could be seen. Izuku's subconscious. Izuku. "What am I doing here?" asked confused. "You're in your subconscious," he said with a macabre smile that would reach from ear to ear. Izuku. "Who are you and why do you look like me?" he said in a fighting pose. "I am your," I said, so he would be surprised. "I am all your hatred, resentment, fury, sadness, etc. In short, I am your madness. Everything you never let us see. I am what you hid, but I came here for a reason," he said with a smile. Izuku. Why, I said more confidently. Well, I came here so we could unite, because you can no longer bear the torture, the insults, the death of our mother and being betrayed by those you considered our friends. Izuku. And why would he do that, he said with his head down, because of his mother who was the only one who believed him. Off-screen Inko was in shock why she died in that universe and AFO would hug her not wanting her to leave. Tamura. No, my mother sad cry. The friends would feel bad because their selves from that universe didn't believe him. Izuku's girlfriends would just hug Izuku without moving away from him and Izuku would have his gaze downcast because of what he suffered there. Kamui. Ha 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 ha, what he deserves, he said arrogantly. You. Shut up, he said with his quirk. He punched him and left him embedded in the wall. Bakugo. Ha 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 ha, let the damn guy suffer, he said and suffered explosions from his mother in the face that would leave him KO. Back to the screen. So you can be better, don't you realize? You're naive, you believe everyone, and in the end, that's your downfall. Izuku. But that is not the path of a hero, he said with determination, something that would make his teachers and parents proud. Ha, don't you realize, that will no longer be possible, you're going to want to break up as a hero? Nobody believes in you, he said with a smile since he would see that it has an effect. Izuku. You're right, I have nothing left, he said with his gaze lowered and seeing the truth behind his lie made by him. I would raise my arm to shake his hand. Izuku did the same, shaking hands so that later a light would illuminate them and bring them together, so that an Izuku would come out with red eyes, dull green hair, a smile that was really impossible to do. He showed his teeth and part of his flesh and his skin had a paler tone. Out of the subconscious a glow would illuminate Izuku's cell and then Izuku would come out with his new appearance. After that the League of Retards would arrive. Off-screen some would be scared by the new form and some would laugh at what they called the League of Villains. Ms. Joker. He League of Retards said in an assortment that no one heard. Izuku's girlfriends hugged Izuku closer when they saw him sad, with his gaze lowered and without shine in his eyes, and Inko and Hiyashi hugged each other under the attentive gaze of AM. Inside the screen Tamura. Wow, if he is the hero Deku ha. Well, we came to make you a proposal, he said calmly. Izuku. And what would it be? With his grim smile that would give everyone the chills. Tamura. Well, I'll be blunt, I want you to join us, he said a little nervous. Izuku. It's okay, as long as I can get revenge, he said and his smile widened, something that would be impossible. Tamura. We are going to torture you to convince. Wait, what? He said confused like the whole league. Izuku. I'm joining your cheap league. Tamura. I thought you would resist, to be honest, maybe it would be easier for me. Dabi, freeze him so we can leave before they realize and twice makes a clone so they don't suspect, he said impressing everyone. Dabi. Wow, wait, who are you and what did you do to Tamura? He said on guard. Tamura. Why do you say that? Twice. This plan is too clever for the boss is a complete fool for coming up with plans. Tamura would get a little depressed. Off-screen Tamura was also being comforted by AFO and Inko, and where Izuku was, he looked better and more animated. The arrogant ones looked at him with envy and wanted to lock him up to gain fame, but one idiot spoke up. Fake hero. He's a villain. He must be arrested, he said trying to attack Izuku but would receive a combo from Izuku that made him stiff on the ground. Midoriya Shonen is wrong. Revenge kills the soul and poisons it. He said, although it was false, he wasn't stupid and knew they were different universes. Izuku. Don't talk to me so confidently, and what a hypocrite you are, right? He said drawing the attention of some. You were the first who should not talk about that. Or don't you remember how you wanted to kill my father for revenge, he said so that some are surprised and his two teachers are disappointed. I don't expect anything from you and yet you still disappoint me, he said with a hand on his head. Nana. What an idiot, Toshi. I don't know what happened to you but you are not worthy of that power, she said disappointed in her student. Is sad because his two teachers told him that it hurt him and that his successor hates him too. But he also knew it was his fault but he didn't want to accept it. Inside the screen Tamura. Well, just do what I told you and we have to leave, he said and then left through the portal. After what the hand fetishist said, Dabi and Twice did what their boss asked. After doing so they all left but before they entered the portal Izuku stopped and looked at the camera. Izuku. It's time for my revenge, he said with his smile and then left through the portal. The screen is going black. Off-screen Izuku. It's over, he said while being hugged by his girlfriends. Me. Keep watching, I said, and everyone paid attention to the screen. Inside the screen a 1-month time skip appears on the screen, and now we can see the black screen change to UA where there was a party, and what are they wondering about? Well, their hero graduation from class 3A and 3B. Everyone would be gathered together celebrating with some teachers and the principal who would stand on a stage that was there. Nezu. Well, aspiring heroes, he said, and everyone paid attention here. Your school course ends and now it's your turn for the next step, to be pro heroes. And he didn't finish because a purple portal opened where the League of Villains came out along with someone that nobody knew, but his smile gave them chills and they wondered, smile. What's up with the rest of his face, because he was wearing an outfit like that. Ignore the chains and robins. Bakugo. Haha, it seems the trash wants to die, he said, making explosions. What are you villains doing here? Asked the inflated balloon. Tamura. Nothing, we just wanted to ask how is the hero Deku, he said with laughter. Don't talk about that traitor, he said, clenching his fists. Bakugo. The useless bastard deserves to die, he said, pissed off as always. Lita. He's just a dirty villain, she said with her arm movement. Uraraka. It's just a Deku. Off-screen, those who spoke ill of Izuku supported their on-screen selves, accompanied by false and arrogant heroes, except for Uraraka, who continues to reflect XD. Before this, Izuku would lower his head. The girlfriends and those interested in broccoli, seeing him like this, would emit an aura of death that scared those who spoke, and they calmed down. Inside the screen, the children who were there, that is, the 4 of them, believed in the innocence of their hero, but they didn't say anything for fear that something would happen to him, and they shed a tear. This would be seen by Izuku, who would see them and realize it, and without anyone noticing, his psychopathic smile turned into a real one, but it lasted a few moments for it to return to normal. Tamura. Are you serious about what you're saying? Said mockingly something that surprised everyone. He was innocent, ha 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 ha, there was no traitor, the security of his damn school is crap, screamed mockingly. Given what has been said, everyone would be in shock. They put an innocent man in jail, tortured him, almost killed him, and finally, because of them, his mother died. Off-screen at the last moment, Tamura and Izuku were sad. Tamura, despite the short time they've been together, gave him the affection of a mother, and Izuku, well, she was his mother, but AFO. They shit little points, said to try to jump, but a barrier prevented him. What is this? Me. Calm down here, I don't want any bloodshed. AFO. But they touched my Inko, said angrily and blushing to Inko. Me. I said not here, I didn't say you couldn't do it, I said, smiling to snap my fingers and make AFO and the guilty ones disappear. Inko. Where did you send them? She said worriedly. Me. To an area where we don't see the massacre, besides I don't want it to stain my apartment, I said with a chibi face. At what was said, everyone broke into a sweat. Time skip. After an hour I brought them in and you could see AFO covered in dried blood on his suit, and the others, well, they were unrecognizable. Me. Yes, you went too far, I said, seeing how they were. AFO. Nobody touches my Inko, he said, hugging her. Me. Well, we have to keep watching and now I'll cure them, I said, pointing to the ones I was harassing. AFO asterisk, I said, to cure them so they look traumatized. Back to the screen. I am impossible, he said without believing it. Todoroki. It has to be a lie, he said with tears threatening to come out. Tamura. Of course not, I sent them that video, he said without thinking, and the whole League of Villains would give themselves a facepalm. Izuku, hearing that, his smile became even more psychopathic since now he knew who sent the video. Izuku. So you sent the video? The League of Villains shuddered at why they screwed up. Who are you? Izuku. Too bad you don't remember your successor. He said to take off his mask without losing his smile. Everyone was shocked to see who it was. Izuku, nerd, Deku-kun asterisk Digierin Viendolo. Todoroki. Izuku, stay away, they are villains, he said worriedly. Izuku. Ha 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 ha, and why would I do that? Bakugo. Nerd, come here, he said angrily and worried about his friend. Izuku.
Apparently they don't remember the damage they did to me, but he said, widening his smile, putting on his mask and taking out some chains that had blades at the end. Izuku is dead, he said, taking out an aura that would terrify everyone. Now there is the Izuku who laughs, he said, and then quickly threw himself into the two classes. Izuku in a quick movement would throw the chain towards Mineta, who wrapped it around him and then pulled the chain hard, dismembering him. This would terrify everyone for such an act, and of course the scene was grotesque. Izuku, does anyone else want to play? He said with a smile as he brought his chain closer and with his fingers grabbed the blood it had and put it on his lips. That made everyone shit themselves with fear, but they took a little courage and pounced on Izuku, who was waiting for them. Izuku would begin to spin his chain. Monoma would be the first to attack and would try to touch Izuku, but with the spins he rolled Monoma's arm and then cut it into pieces like cutting a carrot. He would fall to the ground in pain. Then Class B would go on the attack, but they were fiercely dismembered by Izuku. Tetsu would try to do something with his quirk, but even so Izuku forcefully wrapped the chain around the Metapod's waist and split it in half. Izuku, I thought they would put up more of a fight, he said, full of blood and with his smile that never faded. Now who wants to play, he said, but some were apparently vomiting and others didn't want to do anything. If that's what they want, he said, so he can go for the class that was the one left next to the teachers, but they would be with the league. Izuku had no mercy on any of them. He didn't give them a chance to think. Each one had a slow and painful death. They screamed. They begged for mercy, but Izuku didn't pay attention to them. It was music to his ears. He enjoyed it. When he finished he looked, and Todoroki, Bakugo, Lita and Uraraka were left. Izuku. Well, look here we have here, he said, looking at them, to wrap them in their chains and leave them in a circle while he was walking around them while looking at them. The Ultramas. The blonde tsundere with Muslim descent, the bitch and the cheap imitation of Robocop, he said, looking at them. Bakugo. Nerd 4. He didn't finish because he received a potato in the face from Izuku. Izuku. Shut up, I didn't tell you to talk, he said without removing his smile. Uraraka. Deku-kun, please, I love you, said with tears. Izuku. If you loved me you wouldn't have done that to me. Lita. But the PR. Didn't finish because she received a punch that broke her nose. Izuku. Evidence, and everything I've done is nothing. You decided to believe in that before Amy, but it doesn't matter anymore. You'll die here, he said in a psychopathic tone, widening his smile. Todoroki. Please friend, he said, hoping his friend is still there. Izuku. Your friend died in Tartarus, he said, to put force on the chain that would be squeezing them. The 4. They screamed, feeling their bones breaking. Uraraka. Deku. I didn't finish because the 4 of them were crushed together by the chain and Izuku used more force to split them in half. Izuku. Hehehehehehehehe ha 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 ha, laughs wildly. The injured teachers and the knocked out lead can be seen on the ground. Izuku. They're not even good for that, he said, and all the teachers looked at him to see behind him a scene that traumatized them since their students were dead. Aizawa. No, why did you do that? Said angry, frustrated and with tears. Izuku. Why is it funny how they ask for mercy, beg for their lives? He said without removing his smile. All the teachers don't ask to move, they would be scared by Izuku, he would advance and kill them one by one until AM remained. Shonen Sari said with his head down and in his skeletal form. Izuku. Too late, AM said to cut his head. Well, this was good. Now who's next, he said, looking at the children who were with Nezu. They were terrified. Izuku would approach slowly and the first thing he would do would be to grab Nezu, who was begging for mercy, and with just force he would take off his head with his spine. Then he would see the children who would be scared and crying, thinking that he would do something to them. Izuku. He said to take off his mask, clean the blood and give the children a smile that calmed them down. Children. Dad, Deku Naeus, they said through tears. Izuku. I know, you believed in me but you were scared, it's normal. Well, let's go, and sorry for what you saw, he said to grab the children's jumpsuit, who happily accepted as if nothing had happened. Before leaving through the door, Izuku threw a backpack to the center where the unconscious League of Villains was to leave through the door. Outside the UA he would see a car park and he would see Twice and Toga waiting for him. Toga. You took a long time, Izu-BB, she said, looking at Izuku, who was coming with the children. Izuku. It's nothing, he said, putting the children in the car and then getting in. Twice. Now what are we going to do, boss? Are we going to kill everyone? Jajazish said, the double personality. Izuku. Well, let's go. Melissa and May will be finishing the ship, he said, but took a control from his pocket. But first. In the Tamura would be seen waking up to see all the massacre and smile, but he saw a backpack that was shining. He came closer to see what was there. He opened it and saw a bomb that had a sad red face. Now the scene would be split in two. In one you would see Izuku pressing a button on the controller, and in the other the face of the bomb was now a green smiling one. Tamura. Damn, I didn't finish insulting since the bomb exploded along with the entire UA. In the car, behind them, a huge explosion would be seen, creating a movie scene, and then disappearing into the horizon. The screen turns off. Everyone would be landed except for a few, but the entire Class A and B were scared and vomited when they saw their deaths. M was vomiting when she saw how they cut off his head. Uraraka was scared and holding back her urge to vomit, and the others were in shock. Fake hero. He must be taken to prison. He is a threat, he said, and was knocked out by Nana. Nana. Shut up. Someone else wants to try my fist, she said, so that no one would say anything because they were afraid. Mirko. But we have to take him to Tartarus. It's dangerous, she said, thinking she was right, being supported by Kamui Woods, AM and other heroes. Me. Shut up already, I said with an aura that would make some people shit their pants. Well, this is how this universe ends. It's not a joke, but the ending was epic, being supported by some. Izuku. One question, why did he say that Melissa and May were making a ship? Me. Do you remember what the Dark Multiverse is? Everyone nodded. Well, I'm going to tell you what continued. Izuku raised the children to kill without remorse, so some would be surprised. Then with the ship they went into space, where with a laser beam they destroyed the planet. Everyone would be in shock at the information. Well, Izuku with twice. Toga. The children, May, Melissa and David, were in charge of destroying their universe, but then an entity appeared to them, I said, surprising everyone. This entity was the pet of a god, so they were even more surprised, and well, it recruited them to kill the multiverse, since the entity made Izuku reflect and see that he thought small when destroying his universe. Now everyone would be terrified, but well, here he tells me that they are fighting against versions of themselves, and this universe is known as DC. You already know it. We saw a parallel universe to that one called Injustice, so some were surprised and calmed down. Izuku. One question, why did I destroy the universe? Me. Well, if you weren't happy, no one will be, I said simply. Well, now we're going to see another one, and it's going to be random, so get ready. Some didn't pay attention as they were still in shock, and others prayed that it wasn't another villain Izuku. While with the Midoriya, they were sad about Inko, but they talked to pass the time and feel better. AFO thought. I'm proud my son has already destroyed his universe, said with a tear. Inko. Hiyashi, why are you crying? AFO. It's nothing, she said to dry a few tears. Tamura. Hey Izuku, he said, whispering to her. Izuku. What happened, brother? Same as Tamura. Tamura. Who do you think would win, King Kong or Godzilla? Izuku. Of course Godzilla is going to win. Tamura. You say of course King Kong is going to win, he said confidently. Izuku. How can I beat Godzilla without a monkey on steroids? He said arrogantly. Fire. I'm sorry kids, but Mechagodzilla is beating you, he said, and then left with Inko again being seen by his kids, who were killing him with their eyes. XD. To be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and now we will see you in the next video.